I'm big. That was Kyle's cousin, right? They kept trying to get rid of him.
That was Kyle's cousin, Kyle.
Yeah. Always, I'm big. They'd send him on all kinds of horrible adventures, right? That he got kidnapped, all this, and every time he kept showing up. Just like me, guys. Right? Just like that pesky rash. I'm big. Oh, man. I want to say, I hope everybody had a good and safe Memorial Day. And it's weird because I saw, was it George Strait? People were mad at him because he said Happy Memorial Day. And everybody's like, you can't say that because, yes, you can. Okay, get over it. My uncle died. Love him to death. He served us and America. And it was, I understand why some people get upset by that, but it's like the internet is a place where if you want to get yelled at for no reason, go just say hi. About the fourth comment will usually be F you. That's it. That's what I think of those apples.
It's not like the guy was saying, go out and have a party and forget about what the real reason.
And the funny thing is, he says that, and then 2 minutes later, it's like, come on down to the giant Memorial Day sale.
If you need a car or a mattress, we've got you covered.
Did a family member of yours die? Well, they didn't do it in vain because now we got a 3-day weekend, lots of barbecue, and sell. I'm going to turn the lights on. Somebody turn the lights off in here. That's the first time I met Dez, by the way. And I was telling him. So this morning, I walk in. I was going, I'm telling Bell. I said, dude, I'm watching Professor of Rock, who you and I both watch. It's this nerdy dude out of Boise, Idaho, and he's brilliant. And he had the best songs of 1983. And number 2 or 3 was Little Red Corvette. And in the middle of it, he goes, you hear that great guitar riff? He goes, everybody thinks that's Prince. It's not Prince. That's Dez. And he goes on about Dez and how great he was. And I've said that to Dez. He goes, Prince took a lot of my work. It's got to be nice, man. It's got to be nice. Prince took none of my work, by the way. None of my work. Did you guys have a good weekend? Hey, Jay, what's going on in there? Jay Harper, everybody.
Chad, what's shaking, brother?
Nothing, man.
I hadn't seen you in like ages.
I know. How you doing?
Hanging in, man. Hanging in, doing my thing.
That's good. I mean, I saw today, everybody said, like, the entire staff's out but Matt. I said, no, I'm here. I said, and I know that, is he gone all week?
Yeah, I'll be here through Friday.
So if stuff goes crazy, we got to give you a nickname if the weather gets gnarly.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
Because the weather wizard will not be here. Bell is here. Bell's not. You feeling okay today, Bell? You were feeling great
I'm
yesterday.
feeling better, but I still don't feel great. I'll get by. I'll live. It's just radio.
Just radio. That's it.
Yeah,
Nobody
that's
dies.
all it is.
Somebody said the NBA has appropriated my bumper music. Suck. The NBA did what? No way. No way. Stealing my bumper music. You know what? I did. You know what's weird? I got into a conversation about the WNBA. Like, that's how far the WNBA has come. And it has all to do, obviously, with Caitlin Clark and the way that she's treated. And we might talk about it a little later. But the fact that I'm having any conversation with somebody over it shows you why she may not be the best player. She is the most important player in that league. And it's funny because I'm watching like highlights of this, everybody's, it's racism, it's this, that, and the other, and how everybody hates her, which is great. You know what? If I'm the WNBA, having them fight on the court is an amazing thing. Anytime they're talking about your sport, it's great. It is. It is. But the fact that the NBA stole my stuff, I don't like. So much stuff to get to today. And we're going to talk, you know what? I'm going to talk a bit about, which may piss some of you guys off, and I'm okay with that at this point in time. The crypto giant party that Trump had, I do have some issues with. And I think all of us, Republican, Democrat, Independent, people who don't care, should have some issues with some of the going-ons in and around some of this stuff that, quote-unquote, his family is supposed to be running, but he is obviously, like, this thing was not a party that was about a fundraiser for a campaign or anything like this. This was just for them. And I do have an issue that, you're selling some access. We should all have a little bit of issue with this and a lot of bit of issue with this. There's no doubt. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the flailing Democrats. My God, are they – every day I turn around. I said this at my national show today. They're if you pick 10 bad ideas, but like 7 are horrible, one is right? Like one is, it's not too bad. And one is the worst idea in the history of ideas. They run at that idea like a fat kid, right, who is starving, who has no supervision, and there's a cake that he's always dreamed of in front of him. And he is screaming at it. And they're like, that's what we're going with. That's the thing. That is the thing. And I was... The battle of language is the new thing they're getting into, which is like, well, what's the language here? Like, we got to make people, they have no leader. They're rudderless. It gets worse and worse every single day. And every single day they turn around, they've done something stupid that makes them look even worse, including the insanity of last week, the buzz around Biden and his whether or not he was sick, and was he sick during the presidency? Was he this? What was covered up? What wasn't covered up? All of that is huge. It still doesn't matter, though. You've messed up on a scale. I've never seen a group who has no leader. None. When I joke about Stephen A. Smith being their leader, it's because nobody else wants it. And let me tell you what people want. People want leaders. They do. And the New York Times did this amazing piece. This is awesome. The amazing piece about what kind of animal do you see them as? And the animals that the Democratic people saw the Democratic Party as: turtle, sloth, goldfish. What did they see the Republicans as?
Wait, nobody picked the jackass for the Democrats?
No, nobody picks. They saw them as apex predators. Apex predators.
The Republicans.
Yeah. They saw them as tigers, lions, polar bears, apex predators. People want leadership. And the Democrats provide none of it. And when they and what did they do? Rather than say, you know what, guys? We can pounce on this all day. We got all kinds of stuff we could talk about here. This is why. You could even point out the best thing that a damn turtle or tortoise is. You couldn't even do that. Instead, you get mad. Instead, you get mad over it. Debbie Wasserman Schultz freaking out. And I say this because people want leaders. And you don't have to like Trump. You can hate Trump. And my friends and I, we debate this a lot. Friends in the business. But you know who the leader of the party is. You know who the leader of the party is. They continue to reach back and try to grab other things. They want Obama to come and save them. He's not. Obama's over this. He doesn't want any part of this stuff anymore. And he doesn't want part of this party. Bill doesn't want any part of this party. They have no leadership. And the funny thing is, should the Republicans play this right, as apex predators, you can win. And you can hold on to power. And that's going to matter. Because 2026, right now, it's still a toss-up. Opportunities abound for the Democrats to come in, especially if the biggest bill ever, most beautiful, if that doesn't work out the way they want it to, and we don't know what that looks like, right? Like they come out and talk about it. It's going to do this, that, and the other. I don't know what it's going to do, because what it's going to look like when it gets to the Senate compared to today, I couldn't tell you. Because you've already got other people in there, not just the Rand Pauls of the world and Holly and stuff. Then, you know what, maybe not so fast on this. Totally understand. I want to see what it looks like when everything's said and done. But you've got opportunities, and your only platform is that guy that's orange is bad. That's a crappy-ass platform to have. That's not a platform at all. It is not. It is a failure across the board. Talk a bit about that today. Did you see AI? Did you guys see what happened to AI?
No. What?
So they ran a test on AI. and they said that they've got another AI that's going to take it over, another large language model that's going to take it over.
Wait a minute. Are you saying one company's going to take over another?
No, one company. So they're practicing. They run these tests on certain AIs to see what they're learning, how they're progressing, but also are they starting to become somewhat, the fear of them becoming sentient, having an understanding of mortality. And they said that they found they've advanced their other AI that is going to take over for it. It started to panic, then told the programmer, I'm going to tell your wife you're having an affair.
That's just rude.
If you try to turn – well, he wasn't. If you try to turn it off, because it wasn't even a real programmer. But it realized and recognized it was in a situation where it was about to be essentially turned off. Even though it wasn't, they wanted to see how far it had become.
That's freaky.
It's not if but when. And by the way, not if but when. I've shown you our stuff, my uncle and I, the stuff that we do. Is it V30, I think, is the new Google one. Buy actors, buy actresses, buy everybody. You need nobody anymore. You don't. And it is, if you want to learn what to do with AI, learn how to prompt. That is the number one thing.
What's that mean?
So programming is easy. I can go right now. I can come up with an app within an hour or two, and I can find a thing that will program for me. Prompting is having the wherewithal and understanding how to describe something to the AI in such a way that it can take the vision and actually put it out there. Because that's an art unto itself. Because if you've ever tried to use AI to do certain things, it falls apart if you don't prompt it correctly. Like, design me a castle. Well, your castle in your mind, you got to be able to design it. This new thing that has come out it's beyond game changing. In fact, like, it's the kind of thing where if I'm an actor right now, I'm thinking, okay, how do I try to get my likeness down? And how do I do that fast? Like, I love watching foreign movies, like, old karate movies or Korea makes some of the best action movies. It gets tough sometimes with if it's dubbed. This, within a minute, changes it so their voice and their mouth mimic 100%.
Wow.
It is so frightening. And
that almost sounds like it would take some of the fun out of watching a
karate
movie.
You know what's funny? Weird. The karate movies, the kung fu movies,
Godzilla movies.
I don't mind those. You know what I don't like? The European movies that are dubbed. They're always way worse.
Are they?
Yeah, they are. And the other thing is too, I'm very much because I do voices, I think what a voice should sound like. And when they give a different voice in my mind to somebody who shouldn't have that voice, it just ruins the movie for me. It does.
I see what you're saying.
So a lot of stuff coming up today. So much Skynet too. Yeah. Yeah, the Dems are the groundhogs. You have no idea how bad this is. I got some stuff for you today where you guys are going to go, really? Really? Including a guy losing it over the big, beautiful bill that you would think he needs help in a serious way. Maybe we'll play that straight ahead. Reach out to us across all of our social media. Glad I'm back. I think Des filled in for me last week, and a lot of good stuff to come up today. A lot of good stuff this week, too. I'm going to have my uncle, who's an AI freak. We might get him on the phone a little bit later, but I will tell you, we've talked about AI. It's here. And yes, there's going to be more opportunities than ever before, but some things are going to be in trouble sooner rather than later. And if you're not playing with the AI game, if you're not understanding how to use it, ooh, it's going to be crazy indeed. If you missed any show, make sure you grab the podcast. Happy Tuesday. It's the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Prize Picks right now has amazing opportunities to win up to 2,000 times your money. And here's a great thing. You go to Prize Picks, you download the app today, use my code CHAD. On your first $5 play, now a $5 play, it's over-under. You're not picking teams, you're picking players. What does that mean? So let's just say Jalen Brunson. You think he's going to score more than 22.5 points a game? Boom, there's one. You think Shohei Ohtani. I think he's going to have at least one home run this game. Boom. Over-under. So over a half a home run, over 22.5 points. It's that simple. right? And you can go cross sports. You can pick same sports. It's awesome. You're not picking teams. You win up 2,000 times your money. And every time you play, you get a chance to win a VIP trip for two to the championship of basketball, which is nice, the chip. And that is you and a buddy going to see the championship on Prize Picks. And remember, $50 immediate win. You play your first $5 lineup. It's so simple, easy. Takes about 60 seconds. Download the app today. Use my code Chad. Win or lose, you get $50 that first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be 21, present in Tennessee. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-426-2537.
More Israeli strikes in Gaza, and we've got street racers all around Nashville. You've probably encountered some of them. Well, 3 of them got arrested over the weekend. We'll have those stories coming up at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Things have calmed down now, but around 1:30 today, tensions rang high as people were shouting outside, some even banging on the doors and windows, trying to get inside and attend the press conference. Memorial Day, a day usually marked by somber reflection, took a very different tone in Tennessee today as protesters raised their voices against recent ICE operations across the state.
I think that we're not looking for criminals, we're looking for people who look different.
Gina says the abrupt shift in immigration enforcement is why she and others showed up to voice their disapproval of Congressman Andy Ogles, who took to the podium in support of ICE, the TBI, and local law enforcement.
First of all, you guys do realize, those of you who don't support ICE has been around for a long time. This is nothing new. They weren't founded on, January 21st. It's like, hey, Trump's here. We got new uniforms. We're a new group. That didn't happen. They've been here for a while. And yes, while Obama and I mean, there's always been an enforcement side of border patrol and security. Long before even ICE, there was an enforcement patrol. So this is nothing new. Now, do I think sometimes Andy puts a little mustard on stuff because it's good? Who agrees with me on that? Maybe it's good to get out there and say, look at me, I'm the most of this. This is great because he wants Freddie O'Connell investigated, which I think is going to happen by the sounds of it.
And I don't just stand with ICE, I'll stand in front of ICE. Because we, the people, have had enough. I choose my community, my state, and my family over this type of nonsense. Which is why, due to the remarks of Freddie O'Connell and the potential for aiding and abetting illegal immigration, the Homeland Security and the Judiciary Committees will be conducting an investigation into the mayor of Nashville, his conduct, and whether or not federal dollars have been used in criminal enterprise.
That's right, as you should. If you're using federal dollars, you're using state dollars for certain things. What the hell are you doing? Now, if you want to go raise money and this is where you want to stand, that's fine. Once again, you want to know why the Democrats fail? They don't listen to the people. They find people that are victims or they think are victims. They victimize them even more by using them in whatever situation has happened, by making them feel horrible and that they're the only answer to anything. And then lo and behold, this is what you get. Now, we can have an honest conversation, as I try to do, about immigration. Even Trump has said, look, we're not going to get rid of everybody. There's got to be a way that people who have been here for quite a long time can figure out how they pay a bunch of penalties and fines and put them in the back of the line, but give them a chance. We recognize that. But this whole thing about, well, ICE is only after brown people or this people. There is a guy in Alabama, and we're going to talk about him a little bit later. His name is Christian Eriksen, which sounds like a European soccer player. He is not. He is a Swede who at his hearing, so he's going through, he's been here for over a decade. He's married, he's got kids. They're all here. He's a welder, he's had a job. He's here legally, trying to get his citizenship and everything. There was a mess up on his paperwork. They took him into custody at one of his citizenship meetings. You know what I don't see? I don't see anybody from any Democrat banging down a door going, there's a father here who's been taken into custody. There's a guy here that's not part of MS-13. And what did I say to you guys when this all first started? If it was a Swede, I can guarantee you, or a Dane or a Norwegian or somebody that looks like that they would not do the same thing because it doesn't fit their MO. There's a certain thing they're going for here, right? It isn't that white guy that was here, who, by the way, when you hear his story, you're like, oh, that sucks. It was stupid. It's a clerical error, but he's in jail, right? They took him away in shackles. His kids were there. They're like, oh, my God. Oh, right in front of him. Nary a word, right? You don't see Van Hollen, right? I don't see AOC crying, oh, God, how could this happen to this guy? Because his name is Christian Eriksen, and he looks not like what they're looking for, which, as we all know, is the kind of politics they want to play. So there's a question to be had. And if you're raising money on a GoFundMe and this is what you want to do, Freddie, knock yourself out. If you're harboring and you're doing everything you can to push for everybody to hide people in certain places, you're going up against your own government. What have we done? How the hell did we get here? And the funny thing is, the longer this goes on and the more you find out about Biden, the more you ask yourself, hold on a second, am I doing something in reality because I thought this is what the Democrats were? Or were there other people pushing certain things for cheap labor and other things, and we got taken? But they won't, because, again, it is a certain thing that they're doing, a certain way that they're pushing stuff. Welcome to the world of the Democratic Party. This is why you fail. Coming up. More on the good stuff. I got some fun stuff as well. I got some ladies. I got some guys. I got people screaming at each other. It is just fantastic because we do like crazy audio. Normally do that for Ken. We got Jay here, so we'll play some of that for Jay coming up as well. If you're listening to the show, what do we tell them, young belle with no head?
Shame, shame, shame. You should have known better.
Good afternoon. It's 12:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll have a weather forecast here in a couple of minutes. More Israeli strikes in Gaza. An airstrike killed more than 50 people there, hitting a school being used as a shelter. ABC's Marcus Moore has the latest.
Israel has carried out numerous airstrikes across several parts of Gaza, of the Gaza Strip, including Gaza City. That's where that school was hit, as well as Khan Yunis, where over the weekend a pediatrician nearly lost her entire family in a strike as she cared for patients at a nearby hospital. 9 of her children were killed, ranging in ages from 7 months to just 12 years old. Another one of her children and her husband, who is also a doctor, they were injured and were said to be in critical condition.
It's unclear how President Trump will address the impasse between Ukraine and Russia. Talks between the two sides, they fizzled out earlier this month, and Russia launched its largest drone strike on Ukraine recently, killing even more civilians. More from ABC's Shannon Kingston. She says sanctions against Russia could be on the table.
We do know that this intelligence Ukraine has showing that Russia is preparing for an offensive. It is troubling, but it's not altogether surprising. We've seen Russian forces break past lines in eastern Ukraine, take more territory in recent weeks, and officials and analysts were expecting that Russia would attempt to use these warmer months to make more gains, to get more leverage on the negotiating table.
3 street racers, they were arrested over the long holiday weekend here in Nashville. Local police spotted a white Ford Mustang doing stupid stunts in a parking lot just off Trousdale. And then when police tried to stop the vehicle, the driver took off. That's when Tennessee Highway Patrol stepped in with a helicopter to help. Eventually, the driver did pull into a gas station, and police were able to make 3 arrests. They were all young women, ages 18 and 19 years old, with booze found inside the car. The driver, Melanie Serrano Santabria of Gallatin, had no driver's license. She and Gabriela Lopez Naranjo and Camila Paoloni Jerez, they were all arrested. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling wants you to know TVA rebates, they're still around, kids. So they've been extended. Got the mini split 17C or 2 or higher, $800 rebate. Get up 12 months, no payment, no interest. Got good credit. That's a really good thing. On top of that, AC tune-ups, $50 rebate for each one, spring and fall. All right, so it's like $99 for the, Beehive membership. They're going to take care of the rebates for you. So you don't have to pay anything. You get your rebates covered. See how the way that works? It's basically like getting a Beehive membership for free. That's awesome. Now check this out. On the 31st of this month, not too far away, 10 till 2, Busy Bee hiring open house. So whether you got several years of experience or you're new to the gig, get over there and see. Pay range is anywhere from $30 to $39. They're the most amazing company to work with and for. I'm telling you that right now. And they're hiring for both HVAC and plumbing. It is happening on the 31st, 10 till 2. If you want more information, simple and easy, call 775-7833, 775-7833. Check them out online at busybeehvac.com. A big, beautiful bill passed. It's big. There's no doubt about that. I know how beautiful it is. I'm worried. I'm a bit of a fiscal hawk. I'd like to see us get our house in order. The reality is us getting it to basically revenue neutral, where it's just whatever we add, we spend. That isn't going to happen. That's just not who we are. We all like to spend, and I don't know if you're
like the other guy to pay for it.
There you go. You know what it is? We love cuts as long as it not cuts the things we like, right? As long as we don't have to be fiscally responsible, that makes everything easier on everybody.
I support spending cuts. I think the cuts currently in the bill are wimpy and anemic, but I still would support the bill, even with wimpy and anemic cuts, if they weren't going to explode the debt. The problem is the math doesn't add up. They're going to explode the debt by, the House says $4 trillion. The Senate's actually been talking about exploding the debt $5 trillion. This year in September, when our fiscal year ends, the deficit will be about $2.2 trillion. Now, people used to always say, the Republicans would say, well, that's Bidenomics, that's Biden spending levels. When March, every Republican, virtually every Republican other than me, voted to continue the Biden spending levels, which are going to give us a $2.2 trillion deficit.
That's not good. That's not what I was promised. I was promised everybody's coming in, they're going to do their part. This is what it's going to look like. We got virtually nothing out of Doge. And, did I think Doge was a success? Doge did what I thought it was going to do. It was going to expose the nightmare that is the bureaucracy and the fight that anybody who comes in and tries to change it was always going to have. So in that case, it was a success. Did it get the stuff out of there that we needed? No. And that's not Doge's fault. That has all to do with the fact that you've got the same people who are out there saying, we need to cut this, we need to cut that, we need to find all this waste, fraud, and abuse. There wasn't as much as I thought there was. I'm still looking around. A lot of people are asking questions. Where is it? Where is all the stuff?
Now, if you increase the debt ceiling $4 to $5 trillion, that means they're planning on $2 trillion this year and more than $2 trillion next year. That's just not conservative. So I've told them if they strip out the debt ceiling, I'll consider, even with the imperfections, voting for the rest of the bill. But I can't vote to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion. There's got to be someone left in Washington who thinks debt is wrong and deficits are wrong and wants to go in the other direction.
Everybody there thinks it's wrong, as long as it's not theirs. If you gave the people, the social justice warriors, every opportunity, they would cut every single penny we spend on defense, right? They would. If you gave the people who live in the world of defense every opportunity, they cut pretty much every social service you could get. Everybody wants to keep theirs. They do. Now, how bad will it be? Let me tell you something. I talked to a few Democrat, one's a pundit out in Southern California, and the other one is in Arizona. And that guy, he runs campaigns for Democrats. That's what he does at the local and state level. And quietly, you know what they're hoping for? They're hoping this thing blows up. It balloons the debt. And they're hoping a bunch of people lose Medicaid, Medicare, a bunch of SNAP benefits. That's what they're hoping for. Because it goes back to, well, if we can't beat you, our goal is, can you make a bunch of mistakes? And that's what they're hoping for. Dude, can you make a bunch of mistakes? Case in point, this guy is a perfect example of somebody who's unhinged, who's a Democrat, who has lost their mind over the big, beautiful bill. And remember, they want Trump to make mistakes. They want this thing to blow up in everybody's faces. I don't want that. I never wanted that. I didn't want Biden to fail. I don't want Trump to ever fail. I don't want any of our presidents to fail. If you want that, you're insane. I may not like the policy, but to think that the only goal that my team would have, the more conservative side, is that the other team sucks more than us, is a crappy way to do politics, which unfortunately is what we got, which is why we have people that are this unhinged.
This regime doesn't give a f*** if you die! These sick bastards in the House just passed their big, beautiful bill, and it's full of cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, and SNAP. That means poor people, sick people, disabled people, hungry families. Apparently your survival is too expensive.
Sir, are you okay? Are you okay? You got more to say? Okay, continue.
Kristi Noem just revoked Harvard's ability to enroll in international students. Not just new ones. Existing international students are being forced to transfer out. These students worked their asses to get out here, sacrificed everything, crossed oceans, carried dreams in their fists, targeted racist, nationalistic bullshit.
This guy's awesome. By the way, a little snapshot on the whole. I don't think Trump's going to win that about the international students. Most of the international students that go to big colleges like the Ivy Leagues, they pay full rate. So mom and dad are, you know how like you have in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition? This is out-of-country tuition. They're paying retail plus 10%, and they don't care. So the thought that everybody who comes here and goes to school, especially in some of these big places like Harvard, come here and they've got no money and they're downtrodden and they swam across the ocean through shark-infested waters. They fought polar bears and saltwater crocodiles. They finally landed here. All the while they were working hard at 8 part-time jobs to pay for their opportunity to go to Harvard. Nah, it's not the way you think it is. They're not broke. They're not poor. Now, are there people that are there that are broke and poor that have had their opportunity? Yes, there's no doubt. But the way that they're framing this is that anybody is getting kicked out, and all of these kids, they've suffered in such a way.
And ABC, they just told you to tone it down on Trump. Are you f***ing kidding me? Tone it down while the country's on fire. No, we don't tone down. We scream. We shove the truth in their faces. We call Trump exactly what he is. A fascist, a criminal, a lying tyrant. June 14th, we mobilize nationwide. This isn't a political issue. It's a humanitarian emergency. We rise the up and we do not stop.
That guy is, would you say unhinged?
Off his meds?
Off his meds. Sir, are you okay? Somebody said, is that Sam Kinison? No, it's not Sam Kinison, but it was that guy. There are so many people like him out there, though. And they're so angry, so frustrated, so terrified. They don't even know what they're scared of. The Democrats have scared them into something, and they have no idea what they're scared of. And somebody said earlier, it's so frustrating, conservatives will never hold it together and vote like their mandate gave them. If you're smart, you win this big. You had another 4 Democrats decide that they're going to retire and not run for re-election. And the reason is there's a massive battle. Are they going to go uber progressive and uber woke, or are they going to go back to the conservatives of yesteryear, which is Democrats of yesteryear, which, you know, in you look at somebody like Bill Clinton would be considered probably conservative in today's world. They're not. They have no leader. So what they're going to have is 6 parties in one. You're going to have the independent, left-leaning libertarians. You're going to have the uber-progressive woke. You're going to have the blue dog Democrats. You're going to have the unhinged liberals that, you know, you got the Bernie bros. You have all of those. They have nothing together. And you have a chance to pounce on it. And if you work it right, it's in front of you. If you work it right, it's one of those things where you can secure and spread out that lead that's so minuscule in the House and make it 8, 10 seats. You can win more seats in the Senate. You can do things that would set you up for a decade plus. The problem is, it's the Republicans. And they will snatch defeat from the jaws of victory when given the opportunity. They will. And I think that's what a lot of people are waiting for. When are they going to do something so ridiculous and fall on their face? And part of that's the fact that they just don't get anything done. You know, I mean, for all the stuff that we have here, we're hearing this guy scream and this, that, and the other. For all this stuff, here's the thing. Donald Trump has done a lot of executive orders. Those are as good as the paper they're written on. This, and in many cases, the stuff that Donald Trump threw against the wall, that some of it's being fought in the Supreme Court and other courts, those things aren't meant to be laws, but they're meant to spur Congress to eventually make sure that those things become laws, and they won't do it because they're terrified to have their name on anything. They're terrified to put their name on most things Because, well, there's a paper trail. There's a paper trail. And you could pay the price for that. But that's why you got the job. The job was, I'm here. Here, you sent me to be your voice. I'm going to go to D.C. I'm going to be your voice. I'm going to go to the state capitol and be your voice. This is what you've entrusted me to do, and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to do the best I can for the people. You're not going to make everybody happy. But if you do nothing, you don't even make a small portion happy. You just piss everybody off. And that's what I feel is coming. And again, I don't know what the big, beautiful bill looks like, but the cuts that they're talking about, it's 13. The CBO, which is usually right at the beginning and wrong long term. That's kind of their MO. They're really spot on for the first few years.
Aren't they forbidden from forecasting out past 10 years, though?
Yeah, that's as far as they go.
Yeah,
so this CBO has them, debt, obviously, we're going to see the debt. We're going to see the debt rise. 13.7 million people. They can go out 10 years. Well, that's to take place between now and 35. And 8 million of those people are people that are 34, single, no wife, no kids, nothing wrong with them. And they can't get a job, or they won't, because there's a new thing called functionally unemployed, which is where you make enough to survive, but you don't make enough to survive, right? Like you have a couple jobs, and you're making a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, but you don't have enough to get yourself certain things, insurance, stuff like that. They call that functionally unemployed. Well, you got to get out there and bust your ass, get a gig. Expect everybody to pay for it. And yes, we have serious problems with healthcare and several other things. But some of these things were never meant for you. They're meant for like my little brother, 21. He's in the hospital right now. Brain damage, cerebral palsy, eats out of a tube, breathes out of a tube, all those kind of things. It was set up for him. That's the safety net for him. Not for a 32-year-old lives in his mom's basement, right? And has twisted his ankle playing Dungeons and Dragons or LARPing on the weekend somewhere, and now needs to go, get a doctor to look at it. I can't work. I twisted my ankle. Good God. Coming up, more fun stuff. So I'm going to juxtapose. Did you see Trump gave a commencement speech at West Point? And then was it Wake Forest? Scott Pelley from 60 Minutes gave a commencement speech. They were diametrically opposed to one another, if you know what I mean. They were just like, Trump's speech was so, what are you talking about? And Pelley's speech is, oh my God, the world's coming to an end. It's hilarious. We'll talk about that. A bunch of other stuff still straight ahead. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-369, all this incredible stuff packed into an amazing supplement you give your dog once a day. It's one scoop a day. Dr. Dennis Black, who is the naturopathic doctor who formulated this, tells you all the time, the food that is your dog food, shelf stable, it's dead food. It's meant to live on a shelf. This will bring your dog's food to life. It's going to help your dog's food in ways you cannot believe. One scoop a day is going to change your dog's food life. Millions of dogs have taken it, and they're happy and they're healthier than ever before. Try a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens today and watch what it can do for your dog. In a space of 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days, it's a crazy thing that takes place, and you're going to see such improvement. Your dog's going to love the taste. You're going to love what it does for them. It's going to help them not go to the vet so much, which is going to save you money. Try a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens. It's a $20 value. All they ask you to do is cover the cost of shipping. Rough Greens, that's ruffgreens.com/Chad. Use my code Chad, ruffgreens.com/Chad.
Trump and Harvard, they continue to duke it out. And new consumer confidence numbers have been released, and an Olympic hero finds herself in some trouble. We'll have all that coming up for you at 1 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I know who that hero is. It's kind of hilarious, actually. Skull drunk in West Virginia. A lot of commencement speeches going on. Let's start with this little green guy. By the way, his name is Kermit, for those of you who have no idea.
Life is not a solo act. No, it's not. It's a big, messy, delightful ensemble piece, especially when you're with your people.
So you went to the University of Maryland. You've gone through 4 years. You've spent, lower case scenario where you've got grants and some freebies, this, that, and the other, some partial scholarships. Maybe you're coming out with 40, 50 grand in debt. On the high end, you're coming out 6 figures. Your commencement speech is a 15-minute speech that's a puppet. So I want you guys to know that. That's yours. Or you can do this one. This here's Donald J. Trump. I have no idea what he's talking about.
I went through more investigations than Alphonse Capone, and now I'm talking to you as president. Can you believe this? I must tell you, a lot of trophy wives. Doesn't work out. And he had nothing to do. He ended up getting a divorce, found a new wife. Could you say a trophy wife? I guess we can say a trophy wife. It didn't work out too well. And that doesn't work out too well, I must tell you. A lot of trophy wives. Doesn't work out. But it made him happy for a little while at least. But he found a new wife. He sold his little boat and he got a big yacht. He had one of the biggest yachts anywhere in the world.
A lot of trophy wives. Don't get a trophy wife. I know about trophy wives. Trophy wives. There you go. Trophy wives. Oh, trophy wives. That's Bill Belichick, maybe he's talking about. I have no idea. Now, we move from there to Scott Pelley, 60 Minutes, who's going to warn everybody at Wake Forest, watch out. They're around the corner.
But in this morning, our sacred rule of law is under attack. Journalism is under attack. Universities are under attack. Freedom of speech is under attack. And insidious fear is reaching through our schools, our businesses, our homes, and into our private thoughts. The fear to speak in America.
In America. It's under attack. No, it's not the fear. It's no fears. You shouldn't have fear to speech. What is he talking about? People in schools come here, right? So they've come here and they're supporting, maybe not through, they think they're supporting Palestine. Again, I don't want to see people blown up. They think they're supporting that. And what they are supporting, in the knowledge maybe they don't understand, is groups who doesn't really support Palestine, but for the elimination of Israel. Do I think every one of these people that writes an op-ed piece is a bad person? No. But understand, this is the world you live in now.
Power can rewrite history with grotesque, false narratives. They can make criminals heroes and heroes criminals. Power can change the definition of the words we use to describe reality. Diversity is now described as illegal. Equity is to be shunned. Inclusion is a dirty word. This is an old playbook, my friends. There's nothing new in this.
It's an old, none of those words are dirty. That's a fear factor. That's what you're doing. Scott, you're not interested in telling anybody the truth. Equity? No, it's not about equity. Equity is what you have in your house. Right? You got some equity in your house? Great. It's not what you have at your outcome. Because that's silly. Inclusion is great, but not when it's forced. We can go over all these things all day. Shouldn't be this hard. You're adults. You get it. Coming up, a lot of good stuff still to get to. Hour number 2 of the program. Yes, we have more crazy audio and big trophy wives everywhere. So many trophy wives. I don't even know what to do with those. If you missed any of the show, go to the podcast. Jeff Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7.
Good afternoon. It is 1 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll have a full forecast for you here momentarily. A federal judge today has scheduled a Thursday hearing to decide whether to extend an order that bars the Trump administration from revoking the ability of Harvard to enroll international students. And the Trump administration is taking another step to go after Harvard and federal funding. ABC's Karen Travers has the latest.
The General Services Administration today is expected to send a letter to all federal agencies asking them to identify any contracts with Harvard and whether they can be canceled or redirected. That's according to a senior Trump administration official. It's the latest round in the president's actions against Harvard, which hasn't complied with the administration's demands over providing data on its international students. President Trump announced over the weekend he's considering shifting $3 billion away from Harvard to trade schools. Harvard filed a lawsuit against the administration last week over an order that prevented the school from admitting international students.
Americans' faith in the economy has bounced back, well, at least a little bit. Here's ABC's Jim Ryan.
The Conference Board's Consumer Confidence Index measures present attitudes and future expectations. After plummeting to a 13-year low in April, the main number still reflects pessimism, but just not as much pessimism. Analysts say consumers are feeling at least slightly better about business conditions and their own future income prospects.
A Memorial Day shooting at Cedar Hill Park, and 2 teenage girls are being treated for gunshot wounds. Police say they were caught in the crossfire after a fire broke out in the parking lot. The shooters haven't been caught yet. One of the girls was shot in the arm and the torso, and the other suffered a graze that wounded her leg. And former Olympic gymnast Mary Lou Retton arrested on a DUI charge in her home state of West Virginia. Now, this happened about 10 days ago, but the media just now hearing about it. She was released on a $1,500 bond. Retton, of course, making history back in 1984 at the LA Olympics, the Summer Olympics, when she won and became the first American to win the all-around gold medal in gymnastics. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Thunderstruck indeed, baby. I see that Harvard and Trump are going to fight it out to the bitter end. Why are we giving them so much money? Somebody asked, why are we giving them so much money? A lot of that's research. So those are research. A lot of that money is research grants. It's not like we're handing money to kids. These colleges have massive facilities of which we get a lot of our research through them. And so we fund a lot of their stuff. So, you know, if everybody thinks that they're just getting this money all willy-nilly, that's not really the way it works. But you know what? You hit people where it hurts, right? Like that's what you have to do if you want to get attention. And there is a battle that is going on between Trump and his administration and the ivory towers. And a lot of these ivory towers have, for many years, been not welcoming to, and I don't think they should be policed when it comes to, you better go through and count it. Make sure if there's one liberal, we have to have one conservative. I don't think that. But they've allowed a lot to happen on their campuses that have been, quite frankly, ridiculous. And the anti-Semitism and the insanity of which has taken place since the day after October 7th is very real. And it's not just the Ivy Leagues across the country. Now, Palestine has been one of those things where this is nothing new. They've been fighting forever and a day. And the Middle East isn't getting any better. And it's not going to get better until other people stand up that aren't just us and try to force something to happen. That's the reality. It can't just be us. There's got to be other leading voices that are part of this. And at the same time, we need to be honest with Israel. We need to be 100% honest with Israel and say, all right, bro, here's the deal. You can't do this forever. And while it's not a genocide, you're tiptoeing around there pretty damn close. So let's get something done. And people in Israel are beyond frustrated. People in Israel are frustrated across the board in a lot of different ways. They're frustrated that October 7th happened. They're frustrated that there are still men and women missing, many of which will never come back alive, but they would like their family members home. They're frustrated that it feels like that Bibi is going to do whatever he needs to do because it's a power thing for them, including the fact that he and Trump don't see eye to eye in a lot of this stuff. So this whole thing with Palestine, all this has been going on forever and a day. In the college campuses, this isn't, you go back 10 years that you could have wandered on campus, and while it wouldn't be as pronounced as it is now, there's no doubt that, Palestine has been a talking point. I've got a buddy who's uber progressive. Love him to death. Love him to death. Uber progressive. He's been and by the way, his grandmother and grandfather and a vast majority of his family, outside of his grandmother and grandfather, all died in the Holocaust. I remember seeing, my dad, growing up with my dad was inked to the bone, necks all the way down kind of thing. And this is the 70s, 80s. You didn't see that kind of stuff. But I remember his grandma and grandpa used to have tattoos that were numbers. And when I was younger, I had no idea what the hell they were. And obviously, after talking to them, not understanding the gravity of it all, what they were, because we weren't really taught that the way that, you can find that information now. But he looks over and he says, okay, look, you can't do this. And Israel's got some explaining. There's no doubt we can have a fair and honest question about this. And do we need to be supporting another country who's got the superiority blowing up? Or do we want peace? I want peace. I think most of you want peace. Look over right now. Trump is frustrated because right now, if you go and look at Putin is doing nothing to make the situation easy for Ukraine. Why should he? Trump's already said, well, then we'll just walk away, right? Maybe we'll put sanctions on some other people. Well, you have to hit people like Trump is going after Harvard for some of this stuff. You got to go where the money's at. And it's the same thing even with Russia.
Yeah, and this was quite significant. The president voicing perhaps the strongest frustration to date at what Putin has been doing in Ukraine. And you'll remember just over this weekend, Russia launching more than 300 drones and missiles on dozens of Ukrainian cities, including the capital, Kyiv. The president really voicing frustration directly at Putin, suggesting that the Russian leader had changed.
He's pissed. He's angry. Yeah. Because he promised everybody, day one, he was going to have this sorted out. Well, you can't make that promise because you're not dealing with them. And what went from a situation where he read the riot act, you guys remember that, to Zelensky, right? They, in that room, hammered Zelensky to, okay, well, hold on a second. The honest broker here, and in that guy over there.
It's only a week ago tomorrow that the president and Putin spoke by telephone. Afterwards, President Trump said that he thought that Putin was serious about trying to reach a peace deal. He said that Ukraine and Russia would start direct negotiations to try and come up with a ceasefire, essentially saying that the U.S. would back away from a mediating role. He also told European leaders on that day that he would not go along, at least for now, on new sanctions on Russia. But the president saying something very different this evening when he was asked whether new sanctions were possible. He said absolutely. And so the president clearly very frustrated that the pace of these ceasefire talks is not proceeding perhaps as quickly.
No, they're not. And everybody's going to say, well, Trump wants the... Look, Trump's never getting the Nobel Peace Prize. He could stop both of these things. He could go in, he could open up the Gaza and Palestine and make it a two-state solution. He could build resorts and give everybody a job where they're making great money, and he's still never going to win it because of who he is. Just isn't going to happen. And same thing goes for Ukraine and Russia. And Russia understands this. Zelensky gets the fact that, okay, you know what? Now you're getting a taste of what everybody's been saying. You think you're going to negotiate. You have to hit him. And the sanctions aren't the sanctions on Russia, because you can sanction the hell out of them. It's not having an effect. You need to sanction the people that we deal with that deal with them. You need to sanction the people that may have some trading with us, but also do trading with Russia. You need to put pressure on anybody who deals with those people to make them go, okay, well, we can't deal with Russia anymore. But when you have sanctions on everybody, and you also have tariffs on everybody, that makes it hard. You start playing that game where what was it, the 50%? Like the other day, we're going to do 50% on Europe. Wait, what? And then he pulled it back, which is, what Trump does. I'm still not sure why out of nowhere 50, and then now we're pulling it back. But you got to hit him where it hurts, and money is where it hurts. As long as he's got money to stay in the fight, as long as he has this opportunity where he thinks you will do nothing to him, he's going to push it for as long as he possibly can. And we saw that over the weekend. Ever since he had those, remember what happened? They read him the riot act. Then things kind of slowly calm down. Then they kind of meet in Turkey and have this weird conversation, but the Russians really aren't there. And Zelensky's like, I'm ready. Then he goes harder. Then Trump, they had the phone call. Then he goes harder again because his sense in his mind, it doesn't matter. You're not going to do anything to me. You're not going to do anything to me because you've already made it clear. I'm either going to put some sanctions on you or maybe not, or we're going to walk away. Well, we walk away. What then? And I think Putin wants to see, are we really going to walk away?
The Russian president's response is F off, basically. He's humiliating Trump. He's embarrassing Trump's so-called peace process. He's showing through fire and steel that he has absolutely no interest in stopping the war, either temporarily or permanently. I mean, the Russian goal has been from day one the complete conquest of Ukraine. What they can't capture through military means, they seek to capture through political means.
Everybody saw that. Another guy said Putin. He didn't say Putin. He said Putin. What is Putin doing? we're going to find out what he's doing. And we're going to find out what his appetite is to move further. And that's why NATO's got to be ready. Because while we may say we're going to put some sanctions on and we're just going to turn and walk away, well, that's going to leave him to maybe get froggy. Maybe he does jump. What happens then? I think that's a fair question. And trust me, I've said this over and over again. You don't want to be anywhere near Poland if I'm them. I'd steer the other direction if I'm Russia, because Poland is itching for a fight. They want to kick your ass. They remember what happened. They understand what happened. And they would love to punch you in the gullet. But Poland also happens to be a NATO country. Then you've got Turkey. There's got to be an honest conversation about what we're willing to do. And Trump might have to stand up, as much as we don't like it, and say, well, if you're going to do this, Putin, then we're going to do this. We've decided we're going to double what we're giving them, and we're going to give them all the stuff they need to go after you. If the sanctions aren't working, and if you feel you're not getting the respect that you would like to get, if you're going to walk away, be prepared for what may happen if he does roll through everywhere and decides to try and get froggy somewhere else that may land on our doorstep when it comes to NATO, which I'm not sure if that will or won't. We're going to find out. No doubt about that. The Putin thing. I don't know. Putin. I'll tell you what, Putin don't like doing stuff. You know what I'm saying? That Putin guy is crazy. Putin. I was like, what you doing, Putin? He's like, nothing. Well, that'd be great news to have. Welcome to the news network. What's up? What's happening? By the way, did you see Macron get punched kind of, sort of, in the face by his wife? So I'm sure you guys have talked about it today. And again, it depends on if you think it's his wife or it's his former friend who's now his wife, who used to be a dude, or if it's his dad, which is the other thing that's out there that happens to be a woman. But they're standing in the doorway of the plane. You know when you walk through into you walk, and to the left is the cockpit, and they're always greeting you, hi. He's standing there where you can only see half of him. And you see the hand come through and push his face. And then he turns to the left and realizes the doors are wide open. And he's like, oh, hello, everyone. Yeah, but it's too late then. Everybody had seen. And they tried to play it off as no big deal, but they can't, because he's like, you guys are not paying attention to all the wonderful stuff I'm doing here in Asia. It's wonderful. Yeah, and it was like, yeah, but that's because your wife, Dad, punched you. Aren't you ever curious, like, how stuff like that? Like, that's my favorite one, that his dad.
Is how the rumor gets started?
His dad is actually his wife. That is my favorite one of all the, well, she used to be a man. But now it's his dad that's his wife.
I would take a guess that maybe it started in their comedy club circles over there.
I don't know. Candace Owens picked up on that one. Yeah, Putin is cray-cray. I know that for sure. Oh, my Lord. So much stuff still to get to today on this most festive of Tuesdays. Hope everybody had a good Memorial Day. Thanks, not
a happy one, but a good one.
A good one. You know, you remember your family, you remember your loved ones, you remember the people that served, and the people that still are serving. We forget we have men and women all over the globe. And some of them are in situations that aren't very good and may not be coming home. And we need to remember that. And you know, to get mad at George Strait because he said Happy Memorial Day, for God's sakes. But he needs to settle down before Putin comes and get you. You know what I'm saying? Coming up, more good stuff on the way. If you missed any of the show, we always say, shame on you. Make sure you check us out across all of our social media. That includes, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. We're not quite on Rumble, but you never know. Could happen at any day. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Birch gold is awesome. Gold, uncertain times, is perfect. You know, right now they're getting ready to have the Rio reset. That's where the BRICS folks can get together. Could the dollar take a tumble? It's possible. Could you see people actively force the dollar to take a tumble? Again, possible. How do you protect yourself in these old fiat currencies Well, gold is it. Inflation, potential recession. You want yourself in a position to be protected, and that's where Birch comes in. I want you to text the word Benson, B-E-N-S-O-N, to 989898 today. For the gold company I trust, A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, that's Birch Gold. I buy my precious metals from them. They're going to show you what you can do to protect your future as well as today with gold and why it's important to diversify, and gold is the thing you need to do. Text the word now, Benson, that's B-E-N-S-O-N, to 989898 today for Birch Gold.
King Charles makes a rare speech before the Canadian Parliament. And a domestic incident at a downtown Nashville hotel causes thousands of dollars in damages. Wait till you hear this story. That's all coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The prosecution is proving or attempting to prove its case of conspiracy. We know in the indictment there were allegations of sex trafficking, there were allegations of arson, of drug violations, of bribery, and obstruction of justice. So this arson is essentially the Kid Cudi testimony from last week that his car was firebombed. And now you have this witness, this former assistant, saying that she was forced to be involved in these arson allegations that have been made against Sean Combs.
Arson now, because he blew up Kid Cudi's car. Kid wanted to fight him. Didn't that have been great? People are still asking the question, though, to have the conspiracy of some of this stuff, you need somebody to conspire with. Where are the other people that you know, you had all these young girls, these young women, you brought them across state line. We've heard from some of those people, but who else participated in some of this stuff? And now that you've got arson, which I find to be rather bizarre, so you tried to blow up this dude's car because you are what you work with bands mostly, right? You didn't work with.
I did, yeah.
You didn't work with too many rappers?
A few, but not very many.
At any point in time, what bands did you, name some big bands that you might have worked with.
Guns N' Roses.
At any point in time, as crazy as they were, did you think, I have a feeling that Slash may try to firebomb, I don't know, Ozzy's house.
No, there was an instance where he actually offered to make me a sandwich one time, and that took away any edge he had with me.
Really?
Yes.
Was it like, hey, want me a sandwich?
I was on a bus because I was meeting Gilby Clarke, who was in the Snake Pit at the time, because Clarke had a record coming out on the label I was working for, and I went on, and Gilby introduced me to Slash, and Slash is making a sandwich there in the lounge, and he just looks up and goes, "Hey man, you want a sandwich?" I was like, "No thanks, I'm good."
You like bologna and cheese? I like that. That's pretty cool. They're regular. I was listening to some today with what's his name, lead singer of Men at Work, Simon Hay, Colin Hay. He was saying, yeah, because people don't realize Men at Work, that first album was like bigger than just about any other first album ever. I mean, it was like 6 times platinum. It had 6 number ones. It won everything, more than the Beatles did, more than Elvis and everything. And he goes, Paul McCartney.
You shut your mouth.
Paul McCartney came over to his house and they were talking about it. And he goes, and then Paul McCartney washed my dishes. I thought,
that would be weird.
That's what he said. He goes, it was weird. He goes, I'm sitting there, I'm in some band.
There's
from
a
Australia,
Beatle washing my dishes.
and there's Paul McCartney washing my dishes. Like, he's a normal person, but still.
Yeah, he is a normal person, but it's so difficult to view him through that lens because you just never see it that way.
Yeah, like I played soccer for at times like the Hollywood Stars and stuff like that, and the Exiles and a few teams out in L.A. And we had TV stars and movie stars and stuff, but Rod Stewart was on our team. And
Rod Stewart?
Yeah. So he liked to go. He'd like to run around for like 20 minutes each half. And, that was when he was with Rachel Hunter. She's gorgeous, by the way, in person, just ridiculously stunning. And you think, oh man, it's like, he was not good. But like guys didn't know what to do. Like they'd approach him. It's like, do I kick Rod Stewart? Like he's got the ball, but do I whack him?
And you can't tell him he sucks. That's just rude.
Oh, we did.
Oh, that's brutal.
Like, you're awful, Witchy Poo. We just call him Witchy Poo.
Why? Because of the hair?
A little bit. He had kind of this thing on his. He looked a little bit Witchy Poo. His hair has always been the hair. And you know what else we used to do? We go to a place out in Santa Monica called Besties, which George Best was a famous soccer player, and go there. And the minute it would, everybody goes straight over to the jukebox, and they'd start putting on Rod Stewart songs, and he's sitting in there.
That's got to be a big deal for him, though, because it's the most popular sport in the world, and he's getting to play with professional players.
Well,
from different leagues.
His dream, and he would always tell you, he would have traded every ounce of his, I think, fame for the opportunity to play pro soccer, and at a high level. He as a young kid had opportunities, but never got there. I think there's some guys that would have.
If you're a rock star, you either want to be a sports star or an actor.
Yeah.
And if you're an actor, you want to either be a sports star or a rock star.
That's it. And sing, what's funny? Like, I always laugh at singers because, and even athletes. Like, I watched LeBron in, was that Trainwreck? That was the movie with, what's her name? Amy Schumer. And LeBron was in that with...
and Bill Hader was in it with her. And the cover was her drinking out of a bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
LeBron was great. Like, you watch some of these athletes, you're like...
And wasn't John Cena in that too?
Yeah, they're all decent. You know what the athletes, though, most actors can't do? They can't do anything else. They can't. And singers, like, go look at, Timberlake and a lot of these guys, they can do great. But they can't do anything else. I don't... Like, what's his name? The guy from 30 Seconds to Mars.
Jared Leto.
Is he a rock star-ish first, or is he an actor first?
Well, I think at this point, after having won the Oscar, he's more known for being an actor.
But I've seen 30 Seconds to Mars, and he's damn good.
Yeah,
they are.
But his focus, at least in the last 10 years or so, has really seemed to be acting versus playing in that band.
What was that?
No, the band's still together and still tours.
What was that movie? Never Stop Stopping. Did you ever see that? It was like a fake documentary with Adam Sandberg, where he was a rock star and his pants fell down at a concert, and he was telling Tim Meadows, he goes, dude, your pants fell down again. Everybody could see your thing, And he goes, they were only down for 10 seconds. That's like a third of the way to Mars. And he's like, how many times I have to tell you that that's the name of a band? That's not actually how long it takes to get to Mars. Coming up, we got crazy audio, lots of fun stuff to get to, and very interesting. The Democrats. I want you guys to listen to what Rob Schneider had to say about Democrats, what I thought is hilarious. We're going to try to get Rob on the show and the podcast as well, because he's a funny dude and he's gone very conservative. And when he told me why he left San Francisco, still one of the great stories. We'll talk a little bit about that. A bunch of other stuff to get to straight ahead. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 997.
Good afternoon. It's 1:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A weather forecast is on the way. A rare speech from King Charles III at Parliament in Canada today. As the head of state, King Charles is also the head of the Commonwealth, which Canada is a part of. Prime Minister Mark Carney invited the King to open the new session of Parliament with the speech today. The King's speech was written by the Canadian government, since King Charles has to be nonpartisan, but he mentions the importance of Canada's sovereignty, which may be a message to President Trump.
Today, Canada faces another critical moment. Democracy, pluralism, the rule of law, self-determination, and freedom are values which Canadians hold dear, and ones which the government is determined to protect.
Back here in Nashville, a 45-year-old man from Idaho was arrested Sunday after a table was thrown through a window from the top floor of the Omni Hotel in downtown Nashville. Police were called to the 21st floor of the hotel after a large object was thrown from a window on one of the upper floors. That's according to court records. When the cops got to the 21st floor, they found a woman sitting on the hallway floor. She was crying, but she wasn't hurt. But once they got into the hotel room, they reportedly saw the double-pane hotel window had been completely shattered. Police found Jason O'Donnell sitting on the bed with cuts to his arm. According to court documents, O'Donnell he said he'd been in a fight with his wife and threw a large object at the window, even though he said he didn't know what the object was. Yeah, it turns out they had been boozing it up on Lower Broad. Investigators then found a destroyed table on a lower-level roof of the hotel. The management there estimates the cost of the damages to the window and the furniture to be between $20,000 and $30,000. O'Donnell was booked into the Metro Jail, charged with felony vandalism, reckless endangerment, and domestic assault. He was released on a $15,000 bond. That is the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Your Retirement Ready Toolkit is ready for you with Beacon Capital Management. And retirement's not just about the X's and O's, the dollars and cents. You don't want to outlive your retirement. There's no doubt about that. You don't want to unretire because you have to. No doubt about that. Let Beacon help you with everything that has to do with your retirement. If you're in retirement and your retirement, you're not quite sure what the next steps are, Beacon's going to help you with that. First things first, you call 615-488-9303. They're going to get you out your Retirement Ready Toolkit, Money Enough for Life book, retirement planning checklist, and a maximizing your retirement income white paper. No cost, no obligation, and no pressure to you. But it's something it's more, this is what I love about them, is their whole thing is, do you know about tax planning as you're retired? Because those things change. What about estate planning, even healthcare? Let Beacon help you with all of those things. That's the beauty of Beacon. Call them today. They're local. Go shake their hands. 615-488-9303. Get that Retirement Ready Toolkit or check out everything they do online at AskBeaconNow.com. Some of you chiming in about all the rock stars that have blown stuff up. Yes, there have been some, but not a rival like that. And not somebody who did all of the things. Like some of the stuff, somebody said Waylon Jennings blew up a place because he didn't get paid. That's a pay dispute. That is not the same thing as a lover rival.
Yeah, that's not a party time activity. That's give me my money.
Yeah, that's a different thing. Right? I mean, you hear about some of those stories of who was the craziest of all of the rock stars?
Keith Moon he's got the biggest, I would say, aura when it came to doing stuff like that.
Well, I just remember,
drove a car into a swimming pool.
Yeah. Do you remember when they said he also got thrown off an airplane? And then he chased the airplane as it was coming at him. It was like a 747 tried to head it off down the runway, throwing his luggage at it.
Sounds like Keith.
That's not a normal person. But You know what? And the funny thing is the band didn't care. They were going on. We got stuff to do. Keith, he'll catch up or he won't. We'll figure it out.
I do remember when Izzy from Guns N' Roses was convicted of urinating in the galley on a plane and wasn't able to fly anymore for like 5 years. So the band's on their plane, on their customized 747, and Izzy's on a bus following them on ground.
Well, if it's a customized, shouldn't you be able, if it's yours?
I don't know what the situation was, but he was not allowed on it.
Man, that's got to suck. They probably did that to him on purpose. Well, I remember, I lived in San Antonio for a while, and it's funny, you go over there and you're like, this is where Ozzy peed? Yeah, this is where Ozzy peed.
Yeah.
He peed on the Alamo. You ever been to the Alamo?
I have.
It's like the size of your house.
Well, and it's so weird because you have this visual in your head of this really old-looking style building that's just sort of sitting by itself. And it's not. It's like right in the middle. You look at the Alamo and you turn to your left, there's a Starbucks.
Yeah. Let's go to Riverwalk after this.
Yeah,
we'll get some Mexican food.
I felt really disheartened when I finally saw it because I was like, this isn't the history. No.
Yeah. It was so weird.
I was bummed.
Yeah, it's not that big either. You're like,
no, it's not that big at all.
I think that's it's so interesting when you go to places and you think they're going to be, you have this in your mind how big this thing is going to be, and you get there and you're like, that's not as big as I thought it was going to be.
And you've just blown it up to be this big legendary thing, and then when you see it in real life, it's like, well, that's a letdown.
Yeah, it was, and remember the Alamo, and that's where he peed, right there. That's so funny because people out there taking pictures of that rather than the Alamo itself. Hey, check this out. Look at me. Whee!
Stain's still there.
Oh, Ozzy. Rob Schneider, interesting character. I was talking to Rob a couple months ago, and I said, dude, it's still funny why you got the last straw of him being in California was they told him he needed essentially to get the bathrooms out of his front yard. So he lived in San Francisco his whole life. And he says, what the hell are you talking about? It was his planters because the homeless people were urinating and going to the bathroom in it. And he was complaining in frustration. And they said, well, basically, you shouldn't tempt them to want to. That's what the insanity of California was, hey, let's not tempt people to crap in your backyard or your front yard. How dare you do that? So, and he's always been a bit of a libertarian kind of guy. And, and which I've enjoyed. And you know what else I love too? And this is what's great about, I think, comics. Adam Sandler kind of stays really out of politics, which I like. I like the fact that, you got somebody who stays out of the politics world. He didn't disband his, relationship with his friends who don't have the same ideology, whatever ideology he has. That's the beauty of it. He stays kind of away from that. And even though Rob is still outspoken, Rob still works on his movies. Rob still does stuff like that, which I think is cool. You don't think that you get that in a lot of places. But Rob is out talking about why the Democrats fail.
Democrats still seem confused as to why they lost this election. They want to think it has something to do with misogyny or racism. Well, let me clear it up for those still bewildered Democrats. You lost because you tried to tell the American people that the economy was great when they couldn't afford to buy groceries. You lost because you ran a moron in place of a president you knew was a corpse attached to a car battery.
He's right on several of those. He continues.
To close the border and not let people come in illegally to rob and murder them. You lost because nobody gives a about the term Latinx. You lost because your Justice Department called parents who showed up at school board meetings terrorists just for not wanting pornography in their children's classrooms.
Which is, to this day, I still find this, because we have that battle here, right? Like all the time. There's at least once a week is another. Those books aren't banned. But I have a 6-year-old. There's no chance in hell I want my kids reading, even my 14 and 16-year-old. It's one thing you get a little older, romance novels, but this isn't that stuff. Let's be honest. This isn't that stuff. We're not talking about that. Now, can people go too far? Of course we see that, right? I've seen, okay, I just want to say this. I've seen Footloose. Remember Footloose when they were burning the books? It's like, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Man,
people
I forgot all about that scene.
Yeah, people can go too far, and we know that here. You give an inch, but where's common? I tell everybody. My buddy asks me all the time. Again, he goes out and he works with Democratic campaigns on both the state and local level, and as well as the helping them get the statewide, but also Congress and Senate for the federal level. And he asked me, he's like, dude, what's missing? I said, common sense is missing, dude. It's not that hard. It ain't that hard. It isn't. When you listen to the jokes, when you listen to me and everybody else tell you, this isn't common sense. When you can't let 12 million people just walk across the border, that's not common sense. You can't tell me that guy is a gal, even though that guy may have issues. And you can empathize with the issues, whatever. We're not saying be mean to that person, but you can't tell me that I need to suspend this, reality so we can make people feel better, or that this is the way that things should be because it's just a kind, nice things. You've lost the plot.
Democrats, you lost because you lied about January 6th, calling it worse than Pearl Harbor or 9/11, instead of what January 6th really was. The FBI guided tour of the Capitol building. You lost, Democrats, because men can't have babies, women don't have even if they play in the WNBA. And free speech isn't a privilege like a driver's license. It's a God-given right guaranteed by our Constitution.
Here. I love that. A God-given right, a Constitution. That thing is so important to me. And that's why, yes, even when it comes to things that, look, this administration, as much as they pretend like they're not, this administration has cracked down in some areas of free speech where I'm not thrilled by. Because I am a free speech absolutist, 100%. Now, if you're supporting Hamas, that's one thing. If you're criticizing Israel, knock yourself out. They're not the same. But it is an absolute must. Speech needs to be protected, but that's not because of them. It's because of the Constitution, the people that came before them that gave us that right through God to say, hey, this is your right, period, case closed, end of story.
I'm glad nobody listened to Kamala Harris because she never really said what she stood for. Because at the end of the day, just like her party, she stood for nothing. The Democrats had no policy this year. Their only hope, besides calling Trump Hitler every chance they had, their hope was that Americans would hate Donald Trump more than they love their country, and they failed miserably because Americans love their country.
So true. I mean, I tell everybody, and I say it all the time, you're born here. You're born in second base in life. You're born here. Our poor are fat. And I know that Bell and I got yelled at last week for making fun of fat people. We get called in to make fun of fat people. But the Maha thing is real, right? Like we need to, but our poor nutritionally overachieve. They're caloric warriors. They are people of size. The rest of the world just hoping to get through the day in certain areas. And you know what? We've eradicated 70% of massive famines around the globe. Yes, Bell. You want to say something about the caloric?
No, it was more to the poor thing because our poor are some of the richest people on the planet.
Yes.
And we may look at them from the standpoint of an everyday American and go, oh, they really have it bad off. No, they have it great if you go and you compare it to somebody in Sudan, or you compare it to somebody in India, or you compare it to somebody in one of the lower African
Sudan
countries.
is a perfect example.
It's just...
You have no idea. We have no idea. We here in America have no idea what it's truly like in situations. Even these people who come here and they cross the desert to come here, they cross through parts of the world that are absolutely as wild and west and full of cartels and danger. And as bad as it is there, it's not places like South Sudan. It's not places like Yemen, where they've had a famine for the last umpteen years, and civil war is a constant. There are people in their 20s that have known nothing but civil war. I have a little video on my phone, and every time my kids bitch about the internet's not working, whatever it is, right? Like, because that's what, oh my God. I show them a thing, and I call him Stumpy. It's a kid who's in Africa who breaks rocks using a giant sledgehammer. He has jeans on, no shirt. Oh, by the way, no arms. And he puts it between his shoulder and his neck. He flips it up and smashes these things into smaller little bits and pieces. And I say, every time you think your life is bad, remember how bad it is. And I can guarantee you, you probably asked that kid today, you know what he'd say? My life's pretty good because I got a hammer.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And comparatively speaking, it probably has gotten better compared to what he used to have to deal with. But people in this country, and I'm not saying nobody in this country that's considered quote unquote poor or downtrodden shouldn't have the opportunity to improve upon themselves.
Of course.
But they're not suffering the way that other people in the world are.
No, God, amen to that. It's the beauty of our country. You just heard Prince Charles in Canada. We need to keep the sovereign. He's over there. Do you realize that, we make fun of Mississippi and Alabama and everything? Their GDP is higher than that of the UK. Think about that. We think of London and the UK and all this stuff, right? Birmingham. Crushing the UK. Not Birmingham, England. Birmingham in Alabama. I mean, think about that. Biloxi, doing better. Brings it into perspective when you realize how great we are. 323. By the way, if you want to reach out to me ever on my own to yell at me, because it's fun, and leave me a horrible message, you could do it at this number. This is my one for my national show, but I like it when you guys yell at me. 323-538-CHAD. You can always reach out to me there. And check me out across all my social media because it's fun. But also you can leave me good messages too because I take those.
What was it again?
323-538-CHAD.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
323-538-2423. So if you ever want to reach out to me directly, text. That's the one to do it. Coming up, I've got a 4th of July that a guy says we shouldn't participate in, which is ours. Why? We'll talk about that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Raycon, best earbuds around. Father's Day, not too far away. Raycon, best earbuds around. Father's Day, not too far away. You want to win with Raycon. And they've got great, amazing deals right now. 50% off site-wide, which is awesome. But on top of that, the everyday earbuds, which are incredible. I love these. For dads, it has all the cool things. First and foremost, you can switch between different sound modes. You got active noise cancellation. But the thing that I love, besides the fast charging, every 10 minutes gives you 90 minutes of listening power, the thing that makes me, though, as a dad, as a person who's active, I love the way they fit and feel in my ear. When I'm going out and playing golf and I swing, I don't see them fly out of my ears, right? Like my son, he had the little ones with the white stems, and every time I think it's a dang tee. I'm like, what the hell's going on, Jack? Not with Raycons. These things are amazing. I want you to get some Raycons. Win with your dad this Father's Day. 15% off site-wide, 30-day happiness guarantee. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. Get the everyday earbuds from Raycon. You will love these things. 8-hour talk time, 32 hours of battery life, and so much more. Buyraycon.com/Chad.
President Trump continues to grow increasingly unhappy with the Russian president, and a surprise announcement from the Health and Human Services Secretary. We'll have those stories coming up at 2 p.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Somebody said Jared Leto was a pedophile and a cult leader? What?
I've heard rumors about him being a cult leader,
I could
but
see
not
that,
a pedophile.
By the way, if I look like that, can I just say, if I look like Jared Leto, I don't even think I'd own a shirt.
I've heard these stories about him supposedly being the leader of a quote-unquote sex cult.
Yeah, again, that's because you can. You know what? Like, you know why you call it a sex cult? Because you figure it's got to be that way. Because why would somebody women want to have sex with him? Because he can. He's a rock star and he's got an Academy Award. My goodness me. That's a good dang job if you can get it. This guy wants us to boycott 4th of July. But not really, but kind of.
We boycott all of their shows. We boycott the charade. We don't gather in parks to celebrate an illusion. We won't pretend that explosions overhead make us independent while our rights, our voices, and our futures are being sold off behind our backs. Instead, we reclaim the day with solidarity and silence. Gather with your friends. Gather with your families. Support your local independently owned businesses. Turn this day into a true declaration, not of fake independence, but of real, grounded community. While the fireworks go off, we will not be a part of the illusion. We will stand together in quiet strength, in unity, and in truth, because real power does not come from parades and explosions. It comes from people standing shoulder to shoulder, refusing to be distracted.
Refusing to be distracted. That's why this 4th of July, I tell you to stay home and hang out with your friends. Buy stuff locally. Blow stuff up. But don't go see Trump's big, giant ass parade. That's what they should call it. It's the big, giant ass parade.
The big, beautiful, giant ass parade.
He's not really going to get that whole thing. That is the dumbest thing. We are not North Korea. You know how I know that? Because our ship didn't sink. Did you see that?
And we have lights after it's sundown.
We do. We have lights when it gets dark. When Kim Jong-un decides he's had enough, he brings the big, giant, huge orange thing down, and when he likes to, he brings it back up. Did you see that their battleship?
No. Did they actually have one sink?
Well,
no. I know what you're talking about. They were actually launching it for its christening. And it sank when they launched it.
Yeah, it kind of went sideways. Things didn't go the way. And now 4 people who work not in the military, but for the company that is the shipping company who built it and then, they have been taken into custody and will soon be blown up.
Executed with a minimal trial.
Oh, my goodness. So
that's what happens when you embarrass the dear leader.
Yeah, dear leader. Trump would be like, that guy's got power I'd like to have, but I can't. They'll get mad at me at MSNBC if I try to blow up Joe. Oh, Chad. Coming up, hour number 3 of the program on this Tuesday. I think we got some rain coming. Controversy in the new casting of the Harry Potter show on HBO. So maybe we'll have some fun with that because, why not, Harry? You know what I mean? Bunch of other good stuff to get to. If you're missing the show, shame on you. Grab the podcast. It's Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
Good afternoon. It is 2 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. The weather forecast is on the way. President Trump using some of his harshest words yet against Russian President Putin after Russians launched a new round of drone strikes on Ukraine. The U.S. currently involved in peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. ABC's Shannon Kingston tells us where the peace talks stand currently.
So much depends on what the president actually decides to do next. He did have those uncharacteristically harsh words for Vladimir Putin over the weekend, saying that the Russian leader had gone absolutely crazy. But the president has been very hesitant to take any kind of action to back those words. He's been trying to wash his hands of the conflict, saying it's the war of Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky, Putin, and even former President Biden.
In an about-face move, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has removed COVID-19 vaccines from the immunization for healthy children and pregnant women. The schedule for those not only informs doctors on when to give certain shots, but it also determines insurance coverage for the major private insurance companies. Medical groups like the American Academy of Pediatrics say they were blindsided by the announcement. And ABC's medical contributor, Dr. Darren Sutton, says Kennedy said something different in his confirmation hearing earlier this year.
You look at the data, over 70% of people have at least one health condition that increases their risk for a worse outcome with COVID-19. And these statements today are a sharp departure from RFK Jr., our Secretary of Health and Human Services, who during his confirmation hearing reassured that he would not alter the existing vaccine schedule. Here we are today.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Thunderstruck indeed, baby. So, the economy is the only thing to matter. We all recognize that, right? Like, Trump could fix all the world's ills. He could be like, oh, my God, I solved cancer. Be like, that's nice, but the economy sucks. He could be like, oh, my goodness me, I went and I solved all the crises in the Middle East and the Russians, and we've got them to all hold hands and hug and kiss, and be like, it doesn't really matter. Nobody cares if the economy sucks. If all the other things are going to hell and the economy is great, people are like, you know what? The economy's good, and that's all that matters. And right now, the economy, is it doing better? Is it doing good? Consumer confidence, number one indicator of things. If you feel good about your dollars, right? So you're not worried about Putin ruining your dollars. You're not worried about what's going on in the Middle East, but you're thinking to yourself, oh, you know what? Things feel okay. I got a little nervy, but now I'm not so nervy because I feel like things are coming back a little bit. Guess what happens? Confidence goes up. Confidence goes up. You're going to spend different than if you're terrified.
As tariff policy flip-flops, so too do the markets. Today, we have a nice rally on optimism that trade deals could be in the offing. The fact that the White House did hit the pause button on those stiff 50% tariffs against the European Union. That's not the only reason why we're rallying today. We also got a report that showed consumer confidence jump for the first time in 5 months, the biggest jump in about 4 years.
Which is awesome. And those things absolutely matter. In fact, remember when Trump was dead in the water? Now, Trump, and I don't want to say this, Trump is not Congress. Trump is not the Senate. Trump is not, while 26 is going to have a huge effect on him, potentially, could be a nightmare if they lose it. He is not those things. So you always have to take into account, as much as Trump, his numbers don't sound amazing, we're not going to ever really, at this point in time, I don't see in the future, we're going to have those numbers where somebody has 75% approval rating. Just isn't going to happen. If you're at or near, 50%, you're doing pretty damn good in this country. Because you got to figure there's 15 or 20% who just don't pay any attention. And then you've got the other side that is always going to have a built-in disdain for you. Harry Enton, CNN.
Yeah, I think it's time for a bit of a reality check. Donald Trump's approval rating seemed to be falling. He seemed to be adios amigos. People were writing his political obituary. He is rising from the dead like Methuselah. Look at this. Hello, Trump's net approval rating among voters. This is the Reuters Ipsos polling. Look at this. In late April, he was 8 points underwater. But look at where he was in the most recent poll among voters. He's up 7 points to a -1 point net favorability rating. This is not the picture that I think a lot of people were thinking that we would be painting in late April. I think a lot of people expected his approval rate to keep dropping, but at least according to Reuters Ipsos, it's in fact rising.
Rising. It's the economy, stupid. If you feel good about now, tariffs, that's a big deal. And the weird 50% on, 50% off, I mean, let me tell you what people want in life, consistency, right? The market lives for consistency. Small business lives for consistency. Now, they understand there's going to be, some turbulence here and there. Everybody gets that. But what they don't want to know is you say there's no turbulence, then there's turbulence. Then they tell you you have to seatbelt up, and then you're seatbelted for 4 hours, and you never have any turbulence. The minute you take it off, there's turbulence. They want consistency. They feel they don't have consistency because one day it's a 50% tariff, the next day we're taking it off, then we're pausing it, then it's 5% on this thing, 25% on this thing, 65%, but you can move stuff here. They just want to know, right? If it's 20%, great, tell me, and then keep it there. Okay. At least I know where I'm at. If you're moving the goalpost all the time, that's the frustration level that I think people have. But when it comes to China, and that's the big one, people are understanding, okay, this is not going to be something where we go back to zero, which it shouldn't be. And I continue to say this about China. If we are who they think they are, and I'm talking about their government, then why we're even having any conversation with them at all is beyond me.
Look at this. He's nearly 10 points better than he was back in May 16th of 2017 in his first term. So what we see is Donald Trump's not just doing better than he was doing in late April of 2025. He's doing considerably better than he was doing at this point in term number one.
But in Trumpian terms, against himself, it's actually a pretty good position for him to be in politically compared to himself.
Exactly right. This is considerably higher than he has traditionally been.
Even amongst himself, judging where he was back in the day, he's doing better. And it goes back to what we've talked about. People want a leader. You may not like all the things he has to say, but there's enough there to pick and choose where you can compartmentalize and put some stuff away that maybe you're not in agreement with. Because I have friends who love the way that Trump's gone about securing the border, not a fan of the way that Trump is going about trying to, basically the way that ICE is being handled, also publicized, but I get that. I can understand it. Loves the fact that Trump wants to take on the debt and the deficit but isn't thrilled by the big, beautiful bill. We can compartmentalize things. We don't all have to agree on the same thing. You know, when you agree on everything all the time, that is a cult. That is a cult.
So the big question here is why?
Okay, why? Well, take a look at the chance of a recession. It's actually falling. The chance of a recession is falling. In late April, it was 60% according to J.P. Morgan. Look at where it is now. It's less than 50%. How about Goldman Sachs? You see the same thing. 45%, now falling to 35%. The bottom line is, it is the economy, the economy, the economy. As the chance of a recession has fallen, as the trade wars have kind of collapsed a little bit, at least with China, Trump trying to make a deal, we do see that I do think that the voters are responding to this, and therefore we're seeing Trump's approval rating going up.
The tariffs were really hurting him, and he backed off, and it may be helping him politically now.
Sometimes Donald Trump has some pretty good political instincts.
He's got great political instincts because he can read a room, right? You know, that's always been the thing. Now, reading the room, making the call, it's great. Sometimes he does stuff like, you know, just out of nowhere, hey, I'm at 50% on all of Europe. And you're like, what? And then, you know, within a couple of days, it's, we canceled that. It's going to be paused. That gets frustrating because you're trying to plan for the future, right? So you don't know what's going on. But his political instincts are solid because he understands people. Even people that don't like him, he gets. Right? Like, that's being a comic. That's being somebody who has a fee. And I say that always about comics because being a comic, you have to understand that not everybody's going to be happy with you. And, you know, until you get to a certain level, you're building up an audience and then they pay to see you, where they're coming to see you. A lot of times you're on a bill with 5, 6, 8, 10 other people sometimes. They're not there to see you. They're there to see their friends. Some people just happen to be in town. A few people may be coming to see you. You've got to be able to read a room and understand and adjust accordingly. But you keep who you are. And I think there's a lot of people out there, and the left has failed to understand this, who can compartmentalize, who can look around and say, yeah, I don't like the way he's going about this, but out of the 10 things that he's doing, the big things, 5 of them I really like. 3 of them have no effect on me, so I'm not paying any attention to, and 2 of them I'm not thrilled with. So, in theory, he's won 5, tied 3, and lost 2, in my mind. Okay, that's a winning record. How often do you get that? Very rarely. Now, are there people out there who, no matter what Trump does, no matter what he does, no matter what he says, no matter, like we said earlier, he could solve cancer. That's the old joke, right? And then people are like, we should go get cancer. And that's always been there are those people out there that will live by that on a daily basis because they hate the person so much that in their mind now they can't even for a second say, "Hey, you did a good thing." And I used to get people all the time they would ask me questions about like Biden. Well, I said, Biden's not really there, but did he do anything good? Yeah, I think the CHIPS Act was a great act. I think bringing chips here, I think trying to onshore it, and I think Trump has put that into steroids, but I think that was a great thing. We needed to. By the way, he did not get rid of the tariffs on China when they first put him in. I think that he did, not everything was the worst thing in history. And if you're an adult, you can stand back and go, yeah, okay, I could see that. Yeah, there you go. But, now how much of that was real now that we more than know what was actually happening? But we knew that. But I can go back to Obama. My uncle is the biggest MAGA guy, literally the biggest MAGA guy you can find. He's a nutritional overachiever. Although he's lost a lot of weight. I'll tell you that. He's going to come on tomorrow, actually, and talk about AI with us. But he goes, looking back at Obama, I liked Obama. I thought Obama did a hell of a job. I think he did an okay job, all things considered. For all the fighting and all the screaming and yelling, he goes, I think he did a pretty good job. I don't, same thing with Clinton. Okay. I could look up and say, oh, some of that stuff was pretty damn good. Some of it wasn't. But that should be everybody. And if you hate universally everything everybody does, I'm talking about modern politics, right? Because somebody always take it to, so did you hate everything the Nazis did? And you're like, really? We're going to get into this? But if you hate everything that the Republicans do, and you love everything the Democrats do, and vice versa, that's kind of cultish. That's what that is. And I just can't. And I can compartmentalize my stuff. There's a lot of stuff I love. And by the way, I don't love politicians. I don't. Rarely will I have politicians on the show. You guys know that. And the reason, unless it's something fun, we've had Afton on, yes, and you guys go, oh, Matt, you should yell at her more, whatever. It's not who I am. But, like Birch, I only wanted to talk to him about the UFOs. I didn't care about any of the other stuff. That to me is more fascinating. Because let's be real. If there's UFOs, no matter what you say after there's extraterrestrial life and we have them and they're here, anything after that, like you guys now, everybody never has to pay taxes again. I didn't hear a word you said after UFO. So, but I'm a big believer in, I like to listen to what politicians do, but I always tell everybody this, never fall in love with a politician, at best fall in like. Make them work for your vote, no matter who it is.
Every single time.
And people don't. There's a reason, because what ends up happening is, and know this, go look at the black community. The Democrats took absolutely the biggest advantage of the black community forever and a day, thinking we don't ever have to do anything. Show up every 4 years, tell them we're going to make their life better, and then we'll see you guys in 4 years. And that's all they did. You can't. Make them work for your vote, no matter who it is. And if you don't, and you're just handing it to them, why would, if you just give me, why buy the cow if you give me the milk? Because I would like steak. But still, you get where I'm going with this. If I don't have to work for your vote, if I don't have to put any effort in, and you're not going to actually hold my feet to the fire or require me to do anything, then I have news for you. I'm paying no attention to you. There's no reason to. And you also can't expect everything that a politician wants to do to go your way. So they'll make promises, as we know, and not everything's going to come true because they are but one person. We do not have a dictator. We do not have a king. And we don't have little dukes and duchesses as much as they would like to think they are, that at the snap of their finger, they can change something. That just can't happen. But we need to do a better job of holding their feet to the fire and demanding, and that includes all sides. And that's why people get mad at me here, and they say, well, you're always mad at Trump, or you always say this. No, it's not that. What I do is I want to tell you the truth, because I demand that we hold our own as accountable as we would hold the left. And you should want that. I think we should all want that. And it's weird that most people don't. It's an odd thing. It's an odd thing indeed. We've got some wacky sound. Wait till you hear what Kira Sedgwick said. See, here's a person who is lost. And if you don't know who she is, she's an actress. What show was she in?
Wasn't she in Pirates of the Caribbean?
I don't think so. She was in, Kira Sedgwick was in, The Closer? Is that the name of the show I think she was in?
Yes.
Yeah, she's married to Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But she was also in that movie with John Travolta, which is the one where he thinks he's the ETs visit him, but he's just got a
brain tumor. Yeah,
a brain tumor. Scott's not a tumor, but it was a tumor. Forgot the name of that movie.
I can't remember. I used to own it.
It's not Paranormal Activity. I know that. Some of you guys will let me know what that is. We're talking a little bit about what she had to say earlier. It's funny. Some of you guys. Do I really like Obamacare? No, I don't like Obamacare. But it doesn't mean I hated everything he did. Right? Just because I don't like one thing doesn't mean I hated everything, and vice versa. I think that's what we're trying to get at, people. If you're missing the show, go to the podcast, Chad Benson Show. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com. Go there now. Get a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens for free. It's a $20 value. You're going to love what it does for your dog. All they ask you to do is cover the cost of shipping. Dr. Dennis Black, naturopathic doctor, formulated Rough Greens, wants to give you the opportunity to see what happens and how it can transform your dog's life. It's going to help them with their immune system. It's going to help with their energy levels. It's going to help them with their heart health. It's going to help them with their aches and pains in their joints. And why? because your dog food is dead food. This is going to help bring your dog's food to life in ways you just cannot imagine, because dog food is meant to be shelf stable. It's not meant to be living and stuff. This replaces all that stuff and adds to it that's not inside of your dog's food. So try a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens today and watch what happens. The transformation of your dog is incredible. And Dr. Dennis Black, again, the naturopathic doctor formulated this. He's seen it through millions of customers, millions of dogs. It's going to save you on vet bills, and your dog's going to love the taste. Try a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens today. RUFFgreens.com/Chad. I want to talk to you about my buddies over at Byrna Technologies. How about this? Thing's legal in 50 states. You don't have to have a license to carry. There's no waiting time. It's a launcher. Looks like gun, feels like gun, yet it's less lethal. And it's amazing. And the beauty of this is being able to carry this thing and know that you've got protection, but also for yourself to be able to practice and get a feel of something that isn't going to break the bank, that's not going to cost you hundreds of dollars every time you go. It's the beauty of Byrna. Now, they're right here. They're local. They're in Franklin. I want you to go over and check them out and see the launchers they have. See the feel that they have. I go there. My son's coming out. We're going to go. It is awesome. These things, the power behind these things is incredible. But for some people who maybe are a little worried maybe about guns, the little feel, this is an amazing way to protect yourself and be able to take it with you and not have to worry about all of the stuff that you have to go through. And it's also a great way to practice and save. And they're incredible. Byrna Technology right here in Nashville. Call 615-558-0534. They're open 7 days a week. You get 10% off. Mention me. Go check out everything they got. Their launchers that are amazing. That's 615-558-0534 for Byrna Technologies.
Stocks on the upswing today, and a deadly Tennessee bus crash. And if you're one of those airline passengers who stands up as soon as the plane lands and cuts people off trying to get out of the plane, well, there's a country where you may want to think twice before becoming that guy. I've got that story and more coming up at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I love that story, by the way. We're going to talk a bit about this. That's hilarious. I won't tell you the name. Gobble, 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 gobble. That's all I'm going to say. It's just not messing around in that country. There's no joke. Am I right, Jay? Just don't mess in that country. Gobble, 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 gobble.
Yeah, they don't put up with any nonsense.
No, not a lot of nonsense going on in that country anyways, by the way. Turkey. Oh, I said it. Oh, excuse me, Turkey. Right, it's not Turkey anymore. The way they say it, it's much different. They're now using it. They got the little thing above the E or the U or whatever.
Umlauts.
Yeah. What is it? How do they say their name now? It's not. It's like
look. It's Turkey as far as I'm concerned.
But it's Turkey or something like that's the way they're saying. By the way, Phenomenon is the movie we're thinking about with her, Kara Sedgwick, who's here. She wants to stand up and be heard.
I felt like it was important to get on the blower and talk a little bit about how I'm feeling and wondering how you're feeling about the state of our union. I'm finding myself pretty scared about a lot of things, scared about losing my rights as a woman, scared about losing my right to vote as a woman, scared about losing autonomy over my body as a woman, scared of my...
By the way, I've still, Belle and I, we've worked it out too with the weather wizard, Ken, when he's here. I have searched for the nets that I can catch women and make them do stuff, take away their votes, do all that. I have yet to find any of those.
I can't even find any notices of discontinuation on Amazon. It's like they were never there.
Yeah. I was told that all of the women were never going to be, you guys were done. You're in the house, right? That you guys were coming with your own, you're coming over to the house with your own, washing machine and your own stove, and you were going to be making us stuff all day, and your vote was taken away. I was waiting for that. Still hasn't happened.
My parents' Social Security checks, scared of food banks running out of food and not being able to replenish because they're no longer getting federal funding. Yes, the federal government can use improvement, and there's a lot of things that they've done right over the decades. So I think the answer to being freaked out for me is about community. And I feel excited that we're coming together as a nation on Saturday. You can look it up in your area. It's Hands Off March. And, I'm just going to go and hear what I hear and feel less alone in the world, because I feel like that's really important. So if you're worried about anything that's going on in the world, I would suggest that you might want to get out there and have your body counted and your voice heard. And we'll probably learn a lot and help each other just by being together.
Do you feel good about that? Are you guys going to feel good about that? This thought that everything's being taken away from you is so absurd. It's so insane. Women are going to lose their votes. No. I've yet to find a woman that's lost anything. And when it comes to what about the right to choose or this, that, and the other? Those are state issues. Take it up with your state people. And remember, the feds are still pissed. Or the federal government side of stuff, the Burchetts and stuff, they're still angry because that was their big jam. They were raising money off that. Now it's down to the state. They get to raise all the money. That's why immigration's a big deal. You take that away, what are they going to have to do? Their job. But that's a perfect example of somebody who by all accounts, I've seen in many other interviews, you seem like a pretty smart woman. Do you really, honest to God, think that your vote's going to be taken away? And I've said this to all my Democratic friends. I don't know a Republican out there that would be like, yeah, that's fine. We should take their votes away. I don't know a Republican out there that would say, yeah, let's take away their free speech rights, or let's do this. I do not know anybody who wouldn't stand up and go, sorry, that's not going to happen. You seem to think that everybody who either voted for Trump or supports Trump is automatically going to be like, if that's what Trump wants to do, which, by the way, he's not said he's going to do any of those things, would be like, yeah, that's okay. You are such idiots.
What about all the hyperbole about how he was going to build camps for the LGBT community and all this other garbage?
About time. By the way, I thought you guys liked camp. They have camp already. It's called Disneyland. We'll get to that in a little while. Wait to hear this story. It's hilarious. We'll do that, among other things, coming up straight ahead. It's Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
Good afternoon. It is 2:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A complete weather forecast is coming up. Well, stocks have jumped up a bit today on the news that tariffs against European exports have been delayed until July the 9th. More now from Alexis Christoforous, who says despite the rally in the stocks and the U.S. tariff policies, there is still some uncertainty.
As tariff policy flip-flops, so too do the markets. Today, we have a nice rally on optimism that trade deals could be in the offing. The fact that the White House did hit the pause button on those stiff 50% tariffs against the European Union. That's not the only reason why we're rallying today. We also got a report that showed consumer confidence jump for the first time in 5 months, the biggest jump in about 4 years.
The Tennessee Highway Patrol has confirmed that 2 people died after the Greyhound bus crash in Madison County yesterday. WMC, they're reporting that the crash involved a regular passenger vehicle and the Greyhound bus on Highway 70 last night. The incident left multiple people injured, along with 2 deaths. In total, the incident involved nearly 30 people being taken to the hospital for treatment. Greyhound confirmed that the bus was traveling from Memphis to Nashville. And one country is taking action against those, rather impatient airline passengers who rush and kind of crawl all over you to get off the plane as soon as it lands. Here's ABC's Clara McMichael.
Turkey is telling airline passengers that if they stand up too early, crowd the aisle, or try to cut people in line to get off the plane, they could pay the price. The country's aviation regulator said there's been a serious increase in these cases, instructing passengers to wait until that seatbelt sign is turned off and to wait for your turn. If passengers don't comply, they'll be reported to that aviation authority and they'll have to pay an administrative fine.
That is the latest news. We've got weather on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Why don't you talk to my buddies over Bulwark Capital? They're who I go to when it comes to all my financials, whether it's investing for today, right? You know, like short-term investments, looking for certain things and opportunities, or for the long-term. So I send my family and everybody to. They're amazing. My buddy Zach Abraham, Chief Investment Officer, wants to do something for you. You go to knowyourriskpodcast.com, knowyourriskpodcast.com, or call 866-779-RISK. They're going to give you a second opinion on your portfolio. It's a risk review, no cost, no obligation. They want to show you how, fees can start to add up in ways that you've never thought about. They want to show you how they lower risk, lower costs, and lower the volatility, and what they look for when they're looking about the upside potential and how they go about doing that. It's incredible. It's a second opinion. Doesn't cost you anything. You can schedule it now. Go to knowyourriskpodcast.com. That's KNOW, riskpodcast.com to sign up today, or call 866-779-RISK for Bulwark Capital Management. Investment advisory service offered through Trek Financial LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk, not a guarantee. Past performance not guarantee future results. Trek 25217. Wellness Institute in Nashville. Want to get on over there. So in honor of the 47th president, you know what they've got going on? 47% off. Non-surgical spinal decompression. Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley. Experts, right? They've studied, practiced all over the world, and they're ready to help you when it comes to your back. Your health matters, period. Without your health, nothing else matters. And your back goes a long way to that health. Let them help you with this. Now, what they're going to do, so you go over there and you call them 615-246-5009. Tell them I sent you. You head on over there and you say, I'd like my back back. And they say, all right, cool. You go on in and you have a consultation. So they take x-rays, they're going to give you a full exam. Then they're going to do something that other people don't do. It's, cookie cutter, try this. They're going to build something that's right for you and your back with their technology and their expertise that's going to get your back to where you're loving life again. Call the Wellness Institute in Nashville today, 615-246-5009. Take advantage of the big 47 offer going on all year, 47% off right now. 615-246-5009 or painisbad.com. John Heilman was on MSNBC earlier today. I think he's Washington Post, New York Times. One of those smarty pants guys. He's talking about why the Democrats struggle. And I just found it fascinating, yet easy.
I would say that the focus on language is something we've seen in a lot of political parties when they get into trouble. This is something, you can think back to the periods where the Republican Party has been out of favor. People think, oh, well, how do we talk differently? We have to reach this group. We have to reach that group. And the way to reach this group or that group is to tailor our messaging to try to reach those groups. And it turns out, at least in our lifetimes, that the way that you start to reach groups that you have lost favor with or that used to support the party but now don't, and you're losing traction with them, is partly a language thing, but really it's more of a substance thing. It's a thing of like, what does the party believe in?
Boom. Tell me what the Democrats believe in right now. You couldn't, because there's like 8 different ways that you look at the Democrats. Progressives, uber progressives, right? Like the wackadoo socialist, communist, the Bernie bros, you couldn't tell me what they stand for. They used to be simple, right? Blue collar. Used to be that blue collar. You go out there, that person who they were going to work, maybe a union member. They were for choice, but they weren't crazy. It wasn't something forefront of their mind. They were about, hey, you know what? You need to tax the rich, but you don't need to destroy the rich. You don't demonize them. It's about building the middle class. It's about fighting for that person and giving them a voice. That is nothing what they represent today. None of that stuff is. Now it's like, ooh, what gender are you? Oh, you're a they, them, thee, thy? Oh, fantastic. I know you're a man, but you want to have an abortion? We'll figure that out for you. I mean, that's the lunacy, and that's where they go, and that's why they fail, because they don't have anything. Again, I've said it earlier. Like Trump, don't like Trump. You know where he stands. Right? Now, he'll pivot if pivoting is what is called for, but you understand what's going on. Where with the Democrats, they have no leader in the clubhouse.
And so when I hear Rahm, enormous respect for Rahm Emanuel. He's accomplished a lot. I said this literally on the show last week. Alyssa Slotkin is another person who's been saying the same sort of thing. Weak and woke. That phrase is a phrase that various people who want to moderate the party have been throwing around. What I think is important here is not the question of what the party's image is, but what does the party stand for? If the party takes positions on issues that are weak and woke, it will seem weak and woke. If it takes positions that are strong and not woke, that is the way to go forward. It's not about language. It's about where are you going to deviate from what has become Democratic ideological conformity.
I don't even know what it's. They abandoned their principles of who they were supposed to be. where you could look and go, when I was a kid growing up, it was, the conservatives are for smaller government, less taxes, the fat cats on Wall Street. They painted a picture, and the Republicans were fine with that. The Democrats were for the little guy, right? That's who they were for, that blue-collar guy. When you listen to Alabama, and they're singing all the songs about, Daddy got a washing machine at the TV, that stuff. That's who they were for. Now, they're for the elites. Most millionaires and billionaires give to the left. Why is that? Because they come from this educated world of this elitism and academia. The ivory tower has been replaced with the towers of colleges. And they look down upon somebody who has got a washing machine and a Chevrolet. And they're excited about it.
Again, I'm sure Rahm has examples. Alyssa Slotkin probably has examples, but that's the conversation. That's the debate. That's the work the Democrats have to do right now, is not thinking about their language. The language will follow the positions. The language will follow the substance. And what I am not hearing so far in this first 6 months after November 6th, after the big loss last year, is that kind of work, the kind of reform work that goes to what does this party want to believe in that will lure working class voters of all races back to it.
Because they don't have anybody that can deliver that message. They're always talking about, we need a liberal Joe Rogan. You had a liberal Joe Rogan. It was Joe Rogan. You had a liberal lot of these things. You left them. You decided to let the entire... And the thing is, most Democrats weren't paying attention enough.
When they say they need a liberal X, whatever that X constitutes, what they mean is we need a crazy far leftist X item.
In their mind, they do. And you know what? That's not... do you know what you really need? You need somebody that's not insane. They get mad at Rahm Emanuel, who, by the way, I think would be a tough out. But much like... Well, in today's world, the primaries are so important, where before they really weren't. Not like this, right? Because the extremes can hold things and hold sway in those situations, because you have a smaller amount of people, and the people that are really sold for it are going to come out, even if in the long run, in the actual, once they get out of the primaries, they know they're going to get their asses whooped. I always go back to when I was out in Arizona. Carrie Lake, I knew she wasn't going to win. We all knew she wasn't going to win. It was going to be close, but we knew the lady she beat in the primaries, Caitlin Terrell Robinson, we knew she would have won. All the polls said she would have won by double digits, but small sample size. Carrie got through and she lost. And then she lost again in the Senate race. So it matters. But Rahm Emanuel, he's just saying, look, guys, we got to stop worrying about what's happening in the bathroom. We got to worry about what's happening in the classroom. We got to stay away from stuff that quite frankly, there's no common sense attached to it. There's none. There's no common sense attached to it. And you look weak and you give in, and you've got a small group of people that aren't even the tail wagging the dog. It's the flea wagging the tail, wagging the dog. And that's not a good way to run your anything, let alone your political world, when you've got small groups who are able to command such attention. And I bring that up because when you go and you listen there and you're like, oh, well, maybe. No, it's true. It's not that hard. I sit there and laugh and think to myself, you guys can't see it? That's what I said earlier. 10 things. 6 of them are good. 2 of them are, right? 1 is, and the other's the worst thing ever. And what are you? You're the fat kid that just got out of fat camp, who's starving, didn't learn anything, didn't care to learn anything, looks over and sees a cake and nobody's around, and he's hungry. And he runs over and he eats it. And you're like, that's the worst idea? This is the worst idea. It's just so bad. I mean, it makes me laugh. I love it. I love when they flail. But I love it because it's the easiest thing to see, and yet they're the ones who never see it. You sit there and you go, so you're really going to do this? You're going to lead with this horrible idea. You're going to lead with this bad idea. I've got friends who are strong union members, who are big time. You know, one of my good friends he's down in Long Beach. We grew up together. He works in the, he's a longshoreman and been a union boss. My grandfather was the head of the Carpenters Union for years, like president of the Carpenters Union. Strong.
What was that, their fan club?
What?
The Carpenters?
Yes, it was. No, a different one, though. But that'd have been good. I would love that. Love the Carpenters. But you go and you look at like my grandfather, like strong union, voted Democrat and everything, because obviously he's a union member, but didn't buy into the crap. And once he wasn't a union member because he retired, he just stopped voting. He loved politics, but he stopped voting altogether for a lot of the stuff because he didn't like where everything was going. And it became not about the middle class. It became about groups, and it became about genders, and it became about identity, and it became about things that didn't matter to the average person. And that's why you fail. Keep doing what you're doing. You keep getting what you get. And these guys, they're just going to keep screwing it because they don't know any better. And because you don't have a leader, you don't have somebody who stands up and says, let me take the reins. I joke about Stephen A. Smith, but I've been saying it for a while. The only one on that side who has common sense enough, but you've got to be strong enough. See, the thing about Trump is he's strong enough to look and go, shut up, no. And then people go, okay, fine. They don't have that. They don't have that person that stands up there and goes, no, we're not going to do that. Yes, we understand that this person over here believes that they are a girl and they identify as that, and that's fine. But you know what? No, not participating in sports. And no, you're not going to get dressed in the locker room because common sense says that's ridiculous. No, we're not going to get rid of billionaires or strip them of their wealth because you think they're inherently evil. That's stupid. No, we're not going to open the borders up and allow anybody to come here as they want. They don't have a person strong enough for that. So they'll fail, and they'll continue to fail. That's why when the New York Times did that big op-ed and they asked Democratic voters what they saw their party as, they said turtles and sloth and butterflies. And when they said, what do you see the Republicans as? They said apex predators. Apex predators. Oh, people want to be led. And if you're strong and you lead the right way, because people we will turn. If the leader doesn't do right, if the leader fails, if the leader lies, we will, lies in a real way. We'll turn. But you don't have anybody who can lead, and that's why you're going to fail. And if the Republicans are smart, they'll hold on and they'll win in 26. And if the Republicans are who I think they are, it'll be much closer than it should be. Coming up, I saw him walking around, nice shirt. His name's Matt Murphy. If you guys know who he is, he's going to come in and talk to us because his show's coming up in a little bit. This is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Whoa! Ladies and gentlemen, happy Tuesday. I can say happy Tuesday. Yesterday, George Strait got in trouble because he said happy Memorial Day, and apparently people were upset with him.
It's, sometimes it just comes out, right? It's a holiday, so you occasionally just, honor and remember. That's what I try.
There you go. You can't say happy, but we can sell cars cheap.
Oh, sure.
So crazy. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man?
What are you up to? What's the word?
I don't know it. It's, another day in paradise, enjoying life.
Feels weird.
What feels weird?
After having a Monday off, and you come back and you're like, okay, remember how to do this? You push the microphone, you talk.
Yeah, sure.
I
was trying to think the last time I had a full week off because I don't do it that way. I chop. I chop.
You and I do the same way. We take a couple days. I take a Friday and a Monday off kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah. And create a 4-day week. But I guess it was when I took a trip with my brother on motorcycles a couple years ago. We
got COVID.
And got COVID. My brother told me 2 days into the trip that he had COVID. I mean, and I understand we're on bikes, but we're also eating together and whatever. And I'll be like, "What? You got COVID?" Yes, I remember that because he gave me COVID. So it's weird taking a day off. I agree.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine taking a week off. But I'm doing that soon.
You are.
I'll be gone for a week. They're chopping my arm off, Chad.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. So you take the whole week off for that?
I've thought a lot about that over the weekend. Well, no, they recommend that you do not work for at least 2 weeks. And I said, well, that's for manual labor jobs, right? And she said, no, that's for you. We do not recommend that you travel.
You're not pitching, right? You're not coming back. You're not Shohei Ohtani.
They recommend that you do not travel in an automobile for 2 weeks. It started getting real to me, and I'm not making this stuff up. I'm just telling you it's shoulder replacement surgery.
Okay, but what do they think you're going to do? What would driving in a car next to your wife do?
It shakes where they've taken they cut off the ball of your shoulder.
Yeah.
And then they shave the socket, and then they put a plastic piece on the socket and titanium on the ball, and they put all that back together, and they don't want it shaking around.
We don't want it to pop out.
They don't want it shaking around. That's what they told me.
Okay.
So I have to take a week off, but the plan is a week off, and New Suit doesn't know this yet, but I got to tell him. And hopefully he'll let me do the following week from the house.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, because you can't be in a car. I didn't know it was going to be that dangerous.
That's what
of course, out here with all the potholes,
that's what they're
you
telling me.
Should be driving without. Even if you don't have surgery.
They said we don't recommend you do anything until your 2-week checkup. So I'm very excited about this. Very excited about getting my shoulder cut off.
So does your shoulder hurt all the time?
I mean, yeah, it's like a 2. I mean, it feels sore all the time. This is the way I describe it. Like if you do something that creates soreness in your body, and it's like a part of your body is really, really sore. Mm-hmm. My shoulder feels that way all the time. And then when it hurts, I move in a certain way, and I don't really know which way that's going to be, where it catches the growth on the ball of the shoulder, catches muscle or nerve in a certain way, and it goes from a 2 to a 10.
Ooh.
And then I got to get out of it because it catches and it hangs. It's like a rubber band hanging on a nail. And so it hangs there. And so I got to figure out how to disengage it, and that hurts too.
Man.
So I get all of this new information, and then I start backpedaling on the whole, well, maybe I don't need surgery. It's not so bad, but it's not going away. And you know what?
And there's nothing else they can do? They can't go in and shave it a little bit or any of that stuff?
Take some turmeric root. It'll be fine.
He said that, I asked him, I said, you can't do something. He goes, that's not the way this works. That's not the way. That's not the way
I've set this up for my insurance company to bill you.
That's not the way that any of this works.
Yeah, because normally I figure. But when you say it catches, it feels like they could go shave some of it and you'd be fine.
I feel that way too. But he says that the ball socket combination does not work that way.
Okay.
I don't
Well,
know.
we're going to find out.
We're going to find out.
So when is that?
Maybe he just wants cash. I don't know.
When's that?
June 23rd.
Okay, so he'll be playing in the golf tournament.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, playing around that. Actually, I had to reschedule my pre-op visit because it was on June 9th, and I called and said, I can't do it. Yeah. I've got a function.
Got an important function.
No, I said I have a very important work event.
How long do they think before you get back to life?
They said you are 6 weeks immobile. You will be in an immobility sling for 6 weeks. And then the first 6 weeks of physical therapy is movement and stretching. It's range of motion, stretching, movement. And then the second 6 weeks of physical therapy is strengthening.
Do you have to take baths the whole time?
I don't know. I don't know that yet. And so this is my sense of humor, right? I was like, wait a minute, hold on. You said 6 weeks immobility. He goes, that's correct. He's very serious. and 6 weeks of movement. And he said, that's right. And I said, and then 6 weeks of strength training. And he said, I said, that's 18 weeks. I think that's 18 weeks, right? He goes, yes, 6 and 6 and 6 is 18. I said, that's a lot.
That is a lot. That's a lot. Because you hear people like my mom got her hip replaced. They had her up and walking that day. And, you know, I mean, she was, you know, because they do these things now so fast. It was crazy.
I don't know. That's what he's telling me.
You know, she did a little bit of therapy. And her hip was so bad it was bone on bone. It was a point of nothing. And she had, like, learned how to walk differently. So it took her, like, 6 months to learn how to walk regular.
So he taught me something. He said, you know, because I thought it was the injury that created the bone. He said it's actually the injury creates arthritis. And I'm sitting in front of my orthopedic the last time we visited, and I was like, I'm 51 years old, and you know what? I hear the word arthritis probably 3 times a week.
Yeah.
What? I don't know what it is. Do you know what arthritis is?
Yeah. Well, you're going to have.
Do you know what? I mean, what is it?
Like
I didn't know.
With the inflammation and in around your nerves.
Arthritis is defined as bone
on bone,
rubbing on bone. That's what it is.
Well, now you know.
That's what he said. So
he doesn't. He's not even a real doctor. He's not even a real doctor.
Chad's like,
he's got osteoporosis.
I think you need a second opinion from Chad Benson.
So that's right. You got osteoporosis. I know that for sure. Sounds like a band. Coming up next, osteoporosis.
Yeah,
it's Miss Matt Murphy and the Osteoporosis Boys for the Chad Benson Show. Bye.
Good afternoon. It's 3 p.m. And I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Hang on for a full forecast and our first traffic report of the afternoon. It appears the Department of Homeland Security is now investigating Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell's actions during the joint ICE and Tennessee Highway Patrol operation to take violent criminals off the streets. That announcement at a so-called Stop the Invasion event in Nashville yesterday, hosted by Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles.
And I find it offensive that a city mayor would politicize the role of Metro Police Department, requiring them to snitch on federal agents.
At issue, an executive order requiring Metro Nashville Police to report any communications with federal immigration authorities to his office within 1 business day. The sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs continues in New York today. Jurors are hearing from